Hensuki Volume 5, Prologue. The time was around 2 a.m. The location was the second floor of the Otari seaside private residence. The only male member of the calligraphy club was forced into a seiza inside the bedroom he was using. His legs weren't cushioned by anything, and he was pressing his forehead directly against the cold, hard floor. Inside this room, which was only illuminated by the moonlight, two girls were sitting on chairs in front of him. One of them was a black-haired beauty who was wearing a blouse and a long skirt. The other one had her body wrapped in a one-piece with golden hair reaching to her shoulders. They were Tokihara Sayuki and Koga Yuika, and with displeased expressions on both of their faces, they looked down at the male club member. On his left, Sayuki calmly crossed her legs. "Now then, are you finally ready to explain it to us? The incident during which Keiki-kun tightly hugged his nude little sister while both of you were in the same bed."
Yuika wants to hear about this as well. What exactly was Keiki-senpai doing with Mizuha-senpai's naked body?
Is it only me who can feel the ill will emanating from these words? Did you say something?
Yuika didn't quite catch that, so could you repeat yourself once more?
I didn't say anything, I'm sorry. Though they were smiling, the girls' faces emitted intense pressure and left no room for complaints. I don't know what kind of weaknesses of hers you exploited, but preying upon your own little sister is the worst.
Yuika never thought Keiki-senpai was the kind of person to do something like that.
Apparently, the girls were having the misunderstanding that Keiki had forced himself on his little sister, and it would be very difficult to clear that misunderstanding up. How did it even come to this? While trying to think of a way out of this trial, Keiki recalled what happened just prior. The incident had happened around 30 minutes ago, and the location was this very room they were currently in. It started with the tired Keiki being attacked by his little sister Mizuha. Everything stemmed from the whiskey bonbons that Sayuki brought with her. The effect of the alcohol was too strong, which made Mizuha lose her reason, which resulted in her launching a night raid on Keiki. When his naked sister said the words, "Let's have sex," even Keiki had thought, "So my virginity will end here?" But Mizuha fell asleep in his arms, which was his saving grace. However, immediately after, a new problem arose. While he was sitting on top of the bed with his naked little sister's sleeping body in his arms, Sayuki and Yuika had spotted him. As a result, this witch trial was conducted. Next to him, the true perpetrator, Mizuha, was still sound asleep on the bed, still naked. "So you're just going to lie there while your Oni-chan is being driven into a corner?" Keiki really wished that she would get up and explain the situation, but that wish would not be granted. Not to mention that even if she did, there was a fairly high chance that she wouldn't remember anything due to her drunkenness. Seeing just how terribly the odds were stacked against him, Keiki let out a sigh and turned towards the two judges. "You might not believe me, but this really is a misunderstanding."
A misunderstanding? Now that sounds interesting.
Yes, I'm also very interested to hear how it's a misunderstanding that you ended up in the same bed as your naked sister. They continued showering the poor boy with cold words. Keiki realized that he wouldn't be able to satisfy them that easily. That only left him with one option: explaining the truth. "We've kept it a secret until now, but Mizuha is actually an exhibitionist."
What?
The girls clearly didn't expect this sudden development. For the next few minutes, Keiki explained the circumstances surrounding when he had found out about this fact, and the two girls had expressions on their face like they were actually believing him.
Then, the one being attacked was actually Keiki-kun? That's what it boils down to, yes?
To think Mizuha-san had a hobby like that. She looks proper, but she's quite the pervert inside, Sayuki commented. "I don't think that Mizuha would want to hear that coming from you," Keiki replied. There wasn't much of a difference between exhibitionism and masochism.
It is a bit hard for Yuika to believe that Mizuha-senpai is an exhibitionist, though. Maybe Keiki-senpai really was the one.
"I told you you're wrong. This isn't Mizuha's room to begin with."
That's true.
"Wait a moment. It's a bit too fast to pass judgment like that. Maybe Keiki-kun called Mizuha-san to his room. Don't you think that's possible?"
Keiki-senpai? So you really?
"I'm innocent." Since his story was being interrupted too much to move forward, he had no other choice but to show them the half-naked pictures of herself she had sent to him. When they saw those, the girls looked like they were finally convinced.
"Well, Yuika understands that Mizuha-senpai is an exhibitionist."
"You're right, and it's not like we can say anything since we're similar, but no matter how drunk she was, would she really pull a night raid on her older brother?" There are some special circumstances for that." "Special circumstances?"
"You see, Mizuha and I aren't actually related."
"What did you say?"
"What do you mean by that?"
"When Mizuha was still a young child, she lost both of her parents, and my parents knew hers, so they adopted her. So she's my sort of in-law little sister." After hearing this unexpected truth, the girls could only look at each other in silence. "So basically, Mizuha-san feels that way towards Keiki-kun?" I thought that something didn't add up, but to think that they weren't related at all.
What an unexpected obstacle. Yuika thought that they were pretty close, but they're not related by blood? It seems like another rival has appeared.
The two of them started whispering to each other, and they both nodded to each other as they got up from their chairs. It seems like Keiki-kun deserves a punishment for sullying this training camp.
That's right, we will have Keiki-senpai keep sitting like this until morning.
Until morning? Keiki voiced his discomfort, and that was understandable.
I'm innocent.
In what way? You were guilty the moment Mizuha launched a night raid on you.
That's right, it's Keiki-senpai's fault for being a womanizer.
That moment, Mizuha slowly rolled around on the bed, probably having been woken up by the noise around her. She slowly lifted herself up, looked around the room, and tilted her head in confusion.
Huh? Why is everyone here?
Before that, how about you cover yourself up, Mizuha-san?
Ah.
When she was told that by Sayuki-senpai, Mizuha realized the situation she was in and did so. But the only thing to cover herself with were the bed sheets, so her slender shoulders and considerably big breasts were still very much visible. While holding them up, she constantly cast glances at her older brother. She probably was interested to find out why he was sitting on the floor. Sayuki slowly walked up to Mizuha. Mizuha-san, there's something I would like to hear from you.
Yes?
What do you think about Keiki-kun?
About Nii-san?
For one moment, Mizuha showed a blank expression on her face, but shortly afterwards her mouth formed a charming smile, and...
I love him so much that I want to marry him immediately.
Maybe it was because she had just woken up, but she let out a confession that was a bombshell to everyone present. Nobody could say a single word in response. Even though Keiki had decided to turn down every perverted girl, it was so dangerous that he was about to fall in love right there. If she wasn't a pervert, he might have actually proposed on the spot. Keiki-kun?
Keiki-senpai!
Their gazes grew even more distant and cold. And with that, the curtains closed on the Kiryu Keiki trial. The verdict? As punishment for having stolen his little sister's heart, he was to sit in the position until morning. Chapter 1 Part 1 Keiki and the pervert's hectic training camp ended, and they welcomed a brand new Monday. 3 students remained inside of classroom 2B after classes had ended for the day. And because of that, I was forced to keep sitting like that until morning. That sounds catastrophic. Shoma showed Keiki a bitter smile from his seat beside the window. So something like that happened while I was sleeping, huh? I was wondering why Club Prez and Yuika were in such a bad mood. Mao had pulled up a chair to sit at the same table as the 2 boys, and she joined in on the conversation while still drawing something in her sketchbook. Akiyama, did you know that Kiryu and Mizuha weren't actually related? No, I just heard about it recently. I mean, I didn't even know for the longest time. Keiki hadn't even heard that they weren't blood related until Mizuha confessed to him during summer break at the pool. After that, he had discovered that she was an exhibitionist, and she had been constantly making moves on him ever since. That being said, Mizuha-chan is actually quite bold. Being an exhibitionist is one thing, but pulling a night raid on Keiki like that is really something else. Well, it was probably because of the alcohol. She doesn't seem to remember what she did at all. Keiki was of the opinion that the reason for her attack was the alcohol-filled whiskey bonbon Sayuki had brought with her. Rather, that was what he wanted to believe. I'd have to worry about my chastity every night if that wasn't alcohol-induced. He decided to give his chastity to his future lover. He couldn't give it to his little sister. While he was busy making up his mind, Mao, still drawing in her sketchbook, spoke. So are you doing it with Mizuha? We're not. So Kiryu is still a virgin, huh? Shut it. And what have you been drawing this whole time anyway? A sketch of the 2 of you talking with each other in an empty classroom after class. Want to see? No, I'm fine. Now, there's no reason for modesty here. Just take a look. Hey, don't force me to look at it. Shown in her sketchbook was a whole new world of arrows, which should never be seen by children. To be precise, Keiki's ass was being stabbed by Shoma's meat rod. Where is that talking with each other part you were talking about? This is totally the real deal. Your bodies are talking to each other. So annoying. And also, why am I always the one on the receiving end? Is that the image of me you have? Are you the type who goes on the attack? I didn't mean it like that. While Keiki and Mao were busy bickering, Shoma gazed at the drawing with great interest. I'd heard about it before, but you're really good at drawing, Mao-chan. It looks really realistic, and even though I know it's just fiction, this makes my butt get all eager. Akiyama? Say that one more time. Once more, please. My butt is all eager? What a wonderful expression. Thank you so much. Hearing you say that caused my fantasies to climax. This one's done for. We have to do something fast or else. Right here was a female high school student who would start drooling after hearing her classmates say such a phrase. Nanjo, I think it'd be better if you kept your honest desires in check a bit more. I don't want to be told that by the syscon, Kiryu. Mao turned away, displeased. And I also think that Kiryu is really cruel. Even though I tried my best that evening, you just... Mid-sentence, she must have realized what she was about to say and quickly covered her mouth with a hand. Sorry, forget about that. Sure, but are you mad, Nanjo? Not really. It's not like Kiryu made me waste my courage for nothing, and Mizuha and you aren't related. I'm totally happy. I don't mind at all. Ah, is that so? There was clearly some sort of hidden meaning behind those words, but Keiki decided to believe that it was just a girl thing, and Mao returned to her desk and grabbed her bag. I need to work on my manuscript, so I'm going home. What about the club? I'll pass her today. I need to make progress, so I want to focus in my own room. I see. Watch out for cars. Don't treat me like a kid. And should you really be saying that? I think you're the one who needs to be careful of what's going to happen. What do you mean? Well, I'll see you tomorrow. Without answering his question, the brownish red-haired classmate left the classroom with a wave. What did she mean by that? Well, I can sort of imagine why she said that, Shoma said. Since Keiki had no idea what she meant, he could only stare after her in confusion, while Shoma gave a bitter smile. And at that moment, Keiki's smartphone vibrated for a second. When he went to check, he saw that it was an email. Who's it from? Shoma asked. Yuika-chan. She was asked to sort out some books in the library, so she wants me to help. I see. It seems like Koga-san's the first to move. Eh? It's nothing. Anyways, I have club too, so I'll be on my way. And I have to go over to the library. Responding to the email with on my way, he parted ways with Shoma, who headed towards his tennis club. Keiki stopped in front of the storage room. Of course, his hesitation was because of the trauma he had received here. After he had found out about Yuika's real identity, she stuffed her freshly worn panties into his mouth. This nightmare-like experience still haunted him months later. Well, she won't do anything as hideous as that anymore. I hope. Stealing his resolve, he opened the door. Inside this room there was a strong scent of old paper. When she noticed that Keiki had entered, Yuika walked over to him like an owner who had just found her dog. Keiki-senpai, so you came. Well, I am a member of the library committee too. Then you can help organize the books in the box over there? Understood. Since Keiki had worked as a library committee member for 1 year longer, he already knew how things were supposed to be done. Ooh, just what Yuika wanted to see. You work fast, senpai. Yuika-chan too. You've really gotten used to working as a library committee member. It's just because Keiki-senpai was the one who taught Yuika. When she was praised, she showed an angelic smile. Thank God, it looks like Yuika-chan isn't mad anymore. After the incident at the training camp, he hadn't managed to cheer up either Sayuki or Yuika, but it looks like time was the best medicine. Keiki was really worried about how the situation would continue after that, but it seemed that worry was in vain. A bit after he started his work, Yuika glanced over at Keiki after stuffing one book into the shelf. Keiki-senpai? What are your feelings toward Mizuha-senpai? Why? The two of you aren't blood-related after all. That's why it interests Yuika. She was wondering if you were being conscious of Mizuha-senpai since she's just a normal girl. When he heard that question, Keiki, who hadn't been holding a book, stopped. After all, he couldn't help but remember when she was completely naked. When he recalled that beautiful skin of his little sister's, his face suddenly started burning up. Keiki-senpai, your face is getting red, you know. No, wrong. You're wrong. And what exactly is Yuika wrong about? Yuika's tone was heavy, and her gaze, directed at Keiki, felt cold as ice. This isn't the time to relax, it seems. Muttering something to herself, Yuika put one hand on the ribbon of her uniform. In addition, 3 buttons of her white blouse sprung open at the movement of her fingers. As a result, her pink underwear guarding her modest chest came into view. Yuika-chan, what are you doing? What am I doing, you ask? Yuika is going to seduce Keiki-senpai, of course. Seduce? Yuika still hasn't given up on making Keiki-senpai her slave, so to guarantee that you will accept our master-slave relationship, she will give you some wonderful benefits. Wonderful benefits? If senpai becomes Yuika's slave, you will receive the right to lick her chest whenever you want. What did you say? Every normal boy around Keiki's age must have had at least one fantasy about licking a girl's breasts all over, and Yuika was giving him the right to do that whenever he wanted. However, I will not give in to such temptations, Keiki denied his urges.
Your gaze is fixed on Yuika's chest, though.
He couldn't help it. Keiki was a man, after all. A man cannot ignore such a sight in front of him. Seeing her upperclassmen like this, Yuika let out a faint laugh.
Senpai actually likes Yuika's breast, right? You played with him for so long after pushing Yuika down on the bed against her will.
What? What are you talking about?
Though she was a bit scared, Yuika was still happy that you were so entranced while doing it.
What exactly are we talking about here?
So you really don't remember, Keiki-senpai? On the night of the training camp, you fondled Yuika's chest.
Excuse me? Though he didn't remember doing it, he had no memories from after they had started eating chocolate, and given the right situation, he could very well see himself doing something like that. Seriously? Did I really turn into a molester?
You know what will happen if Yuika tells the police about it, right?
I am very sorry. Keiki threw himself on the ground, apologizing fiercely.
Now, what should Yuika do? Personally, she would really like to see Keiki-senpai end up in jail.
Please spare me. Yuika's just joking. But thanks to that, she's gained a boost of confidence, especially now that she sees how aroused Senpai is getting by Yuika's small breasts. His kohai started fidgeting with flushed cheeks, and crouching down, her watery eyes looked straight at Keiki.
Or are you trying to tell Yuika that her breasts aren't enough?
No, this immoral feeling is actually very stimulating. Big breasts were the best, but still growing breasts also had a strong foothold on Keiki's heart. The proof for that was because Keiki still wasn't able to take his eyes away from Yuika's chest.
If Senpai becomes Yuika's slave, she'll forgive you for doing even crazier things.
Even crazier things? What else could there be besides licking her breasts? Keiki's mind started filling up with endless possibilities.
If you wish for it, Senpai can even rub his head against them.
I'll pass on that. Honestly, receiving the right to lick her breast sounded more than appealing to Keiki, but... Sorry, I still can't become Yuika-chan's slave. Keiki had a dream. He wanted to have a normal love with a normal girl. Yuika was indeed cute, and he thought that she was a very charming girl, but her wish to make Keiki her slave didn't line up very well with his dream.
Is that so? You're denying Yuika even after she's gone this far? Even though she held back her embarrassment to give you this service?
Yuika-chan? Although she should have seemed sad, her mouth formed a smile as she said that.
Senpai needs some punishment for embarrassing a girl like this, don't you think?
A girly shriek from a boy was heard from within the library storage room. The hand Yuika stretched out grabbed Keiki's head and forced it against her chest. Wow, this smells really good, but the force pulling him in was too strong. Wait, stop, I'm
Really, Keiki-senpai, if you go rampant like that, it tickles Yuika.
She sounded fairly happy as she said that and tightened her grip on Keiki's head even further. Of course, he was able to feel her chest softness even more, but it was all that much more suffocating.
Are you crying because Yuika's chest feels so good? You're a boy and you're still making that kind of face. Senpai is so cute today.
In response to the boy's muffled death throes, the girl let out a fulfilled smile. She might have looked like an angel, but inside there was still a hardcore sadist. They're small, but they're enough to suffocate me. There was a time when Keiki was almost suffocated by Sayuki's breast, but he never expected that he would be brought to heaven's doorstep with a bust of Yuika's level. Right at that moment when Keiki had discovered that new realization, however, his consciousness was cut as easily as pulling the plug from a TV. When he opened his eyes, he found himself lying on the bed in the nurse's office. The time was already past 6 p.m. and the light of the setting sun entered the room through the windows. Ah, you're awake. Sayuki-senpai? When he looked to find the source of that voice, he found a black-haired upperclassman sitting in the chair next to the bed. Why am I here? You don't remember? You collapsed in the library storage room and you were brought here. Ah, is that so? He had lost consciousness because of Yuika's punishment. After that happened, she called for some help, and some boys who had been in the library helped carry Keiki here. He wanted to thank those boys if he could, but he didn't know their names. But why is Sayuki-senpai here? I saw when they were bringing you here, and I heard the circumstances from Koga-san. You really went through a lot. You're totally right. And where is Yuika-chan now? Once she calmed down, she was so embarrassed by what she did that she ran home with a bright red face. What's up with that? I would have loved to see that. Oh yeah, the head nurse isn't here either, Keiki remarked. After looking at Keiki-kun, she went home. She said that she had a date with her 24-year-old boyfriend. Ah, is that so? After that comment that included far too much personal information, Sayuki started fidgeting. Her head seemed to be a bit flushed, and her eyes were watery even though it wasn't that hot today. Hey, Keiki-kun? What is it? Keiki-kun. Keiki-kun. Do you like Mizuha-san?
Well, of course I do. Though, in my case, I only like her as family.
Is that so? Whew.
Sayuki let out a relieved sigh. Well, even though she's like my little sister, it would be a lie to say that my heart didn't skip a beat after hearing her directly confess like that.
Huh?
Sayuki let out a weird shriek. She pressed her hand against her chest to calm herself down.
Playing with my heart like that. That's my future master for you. I don't hate that sort of thing, you know.
I don't really get what you mean.
But there's one thing that I'm aware of now. Mizuha-san is dangerous.
Sayuki-senpai?
Ah, that's right. There's something I want to give you.
Sayuki's dark expression suddenly turned into a smile, and she put one hand in her bag. She took something out and handed it to Keiki.
Here, this is my present for Keiki-kun.
This is a key? When he accepted the item, Keiki looked at it in his hand, only to realize that it was a small key. Though it was too small to be a house key, and it looked too fancy to be a bike key.
This is a magical key that lets you do whatever you want with this One-san here.
After saying these puzzling words, Sayuki got up from her seat. Grabbing her skirt with both of her hands, she slowly lifted it up.
Eh?
Finding himself unable to avert his eyes, Keiki found himself able to see her underwear. Today she was wearing black panties. No, it was something that was just shaped like panties. It seemed to be something made of leather, with fasteners on both sides and a lock above it. It was probably made so the person wearing it wouldn't be able to take it off on their own. Sayuki-senpai, what is that?
A chastity belt.
A chastity belt?
If a girl masturbates without the consent of her husband or master, or if she opens her legs to other men, this is often used.
I know that, so stop with the explicit explanation. Though he knew of its existence, he never thought that he would be able to see it live like this. Wait, then this key is...
Exactly. The key is necessary in order to take off the chastity belt. This is my token of loyalty.
Loyalty?
Basically, the only person who can make love to me is Keiki-kun,
Sayuki gently said, and she started to take off her skirt. Her radiant legs came into plain view, and Sayuki started crawling towards Keiki like a cat. Sayuki-senpai,
I waited so long for you to come to the club room, you know. You didn't answer my email, so I felt ignored. And that made me feel kind of good.
A total pervert?
Exactly. I'm a pervert. Merely imagining myself wearing this while I'm being touched all over my body by Keiki makes me unable to hold back.
Just as she had said, her eyes were looking straight at Keiki, filled with ecstasy. Sweat was running down her neck, her face was burning up, her breathing was rough, and a sweet smell was emanating from her. Every part of her was like a cat in heat.
That's why.
Sayuki took Keiki's hand, which was holding the key, and brought it towards her lower half.
Will you use that key and make me your plaything?
That sweet voice combined with the abnormal seduction caused Keiki's mind to go blank. It certainly didn't help that Keiki's hand was about to touch the girl's most precious place. This isn't good, my nose is about to bleed. Or rather, it wasn't just about to. A bright red liquid was running from Keiki's nose.
Master?
The girl's shriek rang out inside the nurse's office. As Keiki once more collapsed to the bed and started losing consciousness, he gave up and just closed his eyes, resigning himself to his fate.
I'm back.
Ah, Nisan, welcome back. When Keiki came home, Mizuha greeted him while wearing a normal apron.
Would you like dinner? Or bath? Or maybe your little sister?
I'll take the bath today. Nisan's so cold. He ignored Mizuha as she puffed out her cheeks in indignation, but her good mood returned as he patted her on the head.
By the way, why is Nisan wearing a jersey?
This is... well, a lot happened. His uniform was stained from the blood running out of his nose when he was assaulted by a chastity belt-wearing girl, but he certainly didn't plan on telling Mizuha that. While he glossed over what happened, he took off his shoes. He was about to head towards the room to change, but he realized that his little sister was staring at him. Mizuha, what's wrong?
No, it's nothing.
Before Keiki could voice his doubt, the girl had already gone back to the living room. Confused, Keiki went back to his room, picked up his casual clothes to change into later, and headed towards the bathroom. After taking off his jersey and setting it aside, he washed off his head and body and slowly heaved himself into the bathtub. I'm really tired. I got choked again by Yuika-chan. And as for Sayuki-senpai, what was up with that? A chastity belt? A high school girl shouldn't ever possess an item like that. Maybe Mizuha is the reason why they went rampant all of a sudden. It seemed like both of them had become aware of Mizuha's threat towards their plans, and the proof lay within the fact that both of them had brought up the siblings' relationship. Thinking that, Keiki started to regret telling them about the two of them not being blood-related, and about Mizuha holding romantic feelings towards him. Keiki and Mizuha being close was a thorn in Sayuki and Yuika's sides, preventing either of their wishes from being granted. That was probably the reason why they had suddenly gone on the aggressive like that. I can feel the blood coming out of my nose again. Since thinking about it anymore would probably be bad for his health, he forced himself to erase Sayuki's appearance from his mind. In that moment, he heard the rummaging of clothes on the other side of the bath door. Just when he thought that Mizuha was probably using the washing machine, the door swung open and... "Sorry for intruding." As casually as if she was entering her older brother's room, his little sister barged into the bath, completely naked. Though her most important places were hidden behind the small towel she was holding, the valley, as well as her body line, were clearly visible. "What? Mizuha-san, what are you doing?" "I thought I would take a bath together with Nissan." No, you can't do that. A bath together is totally not okay." "Why? We always took one together when we were young." "We're way past that age, though. If you're just here to show me your naked body, I'd appreciate if you left." "You're wrong. I wouldn't need the bath as a pretense if I wanted to do that." "Then why?" "Nissan smells like other girls. I thought that something might have happened inside the club room with someone." It was true that on several occasions the distance between Keiki and both Sayuki and Yuika had become close to zero today. So basically you're jealous?" "Yeah." The girl slightly nodded in a cute fashion. It was so cute that Keiki would have made her his wife right then and there if she weren't a pervert. "I really don't think Mizuha has to worry all that much." "Really?" "A couple of things and accidents occurred, yeah. Well, this situation is one of those, but it's nothing major, so can you please leave?" "But I'm naked. My body will get cold." "I got it. I'll get out, so you take your time, Mizuha." Though he had been able to barely maintain his calm, having a naked girl in front of him constantly would soon push him to his limit. Putting the towel he brought with him around his waist, he stepped out of the bathtub. Nissan, the soap over there is... Whoa! Some soap was still left on the floor from when he was washing his body, and that made the floor very slippery. Just like in a manga, he brilliantly slipped and fell to the floor. Ow. "Nissan, are you okay?" "Yeah, somehow." He rubbed his butt as he got up. At the same time, the towel that should have been around his waist gently fell off and fluttered to the ground. His son was giving his regards in front of his little sister. Realizing that, the color of Mizuha's cheeks turned a faint red, and although she was embarrassed, her gaze was still glued to her older brother's crotch. Finally, she opened her mouth. Thanks for the meal?" On a certain evening in the early days of September, a man's shriek could be heard emanating from the Kiryu household. Keiki had a dream. His wish had been granted, and he had finally managed to get a girlfriend. They were on a date together in a park. The reason he realized he was dreamy was simple. The girl had written Mobuko on her forehead. Something like that wouldn't happen in reality, not to mention the fact that someone with the name Mobuko didn't make any sense to begin with. That being said, Mobuko had pretty good looks. Short yet charming hair, big breasts, and a beautiful voice. All in all, she was an appealing girl, and she was also very kind. When they stopped in this park on their way home, they sat down next to each other on a bench, and when Keiki suddenly grabbed Mobuko's hand, she replied shyly, "Kiryu-kun, you see, I really like you." "Mobuko, I also love you." The two of them confessed their love to each other once more in this park, illuminated by the setting sun. Of course, in this atmosphere, their faces gradually drew closer to one another. "Not on my watch." The person interrupting their lovey-dovey time was Sayuki, and right behind her were Yuika, Mao, and Mizuha. Why are you all here?" Keiki asked. "To obstruct Keiki's love life, of course." "Please go home already." "Of course not. Everyone, restrain Keiki-kun." "Understood." The club president pointed at Keiki, and in response, all the female members rushed towards Keiki. Wait, no! Wait. I will not overlook the fact that you were getting close to another girl when you already have this cute pet right here. Ignoring your master Yuika and getting a girlfriend? It seems you need some punishment. Cheating on your cute little sister? A Nissan like that won't get any homemade food. I really think that Kiryu is a failure of a man. Everyone gave their own opinion, and they started punishing Keiki. He was forced to be suffocated in Sayuki's big breasts. He was forced to wear Yuika's panties on his head. He was hugged by his naked little sister, and he was robbed of his own pants by Mao. Of course, seeing that all happen enraged Mobuko. Hey, Kiryu-kun, what's going on? Who are all these girls? They're just members of my club. Well, I don't want to hear any excuses. We're done. Farewell. The girl ran away, her shoulders shaking. Wait, it's a misunderstanding. Mobuko? But when he reached out his hand to stop her, his dream ended. Please wait, Mobuko! Huh? Returning to reality, he found himself inside the classroom of Class 2B, and it was right in the middle of class. Of course, his heartbreaking scream only succeeded in making the teacher mad. He was given the name Sleeping Prince by his classmates, and class ended. After what had happened yesterday, and especially after having that dream, Keiki had no intention whatsoever of visiting the calligraphy club. Instead, he sat down on a bench inside the school grounds and reflected on his current situation. My body won't hold up at this rate. Although it was barely Tuesday, he felt like he had already gathered a week's share of exhaustion. He had had his butt violated in an illustration, he had nearly suffocated in his kohai's chest, he had been assaulted by his chastity belt-wearing senpai, and he had his bath intruded upon by his naked little sister. All of that happened during a single day. It was all because of those perverted girls. If this keeps going, my dream of experiencing normal love will forever stay a dream. Even though he found a love letter written for him, he still hadn't managed to get a girlfriend. His Cinderella had turned out to be an exhibitionistic pervert, and the other girls around him were as much as a pervert as her. Keiki's school life had been thrown into chaos. And that dream. He recalled the dream he had during class. Even though he had managed to get a girlfriend in the dream, those girls had obstructed him even then. Let's imagine that Keiki finds his ideal girl, and let's assume that he starts to go out with her. If that happened, would these girls from the calligraphy club really accept Keiki's decision just like that? Of course not. He certainly couldn't imagine that they would just stop just because he had gotten a girlfriend, and the same situation would unfold just like it had with Mobuko during his dream. Basically, if I don't do something about everyone from the calligraphy club, I can never achieve my dream? When he arrived at that conclusion, Keiki felt a shiver running down his spine. Isn't my adolescence over already? Keiki could have never imagined that receiving a love letter would end up like this. When he realized that his future was already stained with the color of the perverted girls, he could only sigh in resignation. What in the world could have happened to cause Kiryu-senpai to sigh like this? When he lifted his head to see who called out to him, a familiar girl was standing in front of him. The green color of her ribbon indicated that she was a first year. She had beige hair and twin tails and a confident gaze. It was Nagase Airi. Keiki knew of her as the treasurer of the student council. What a surprise, Nagase-san. Don't talk to me so lightly. It's unpleasant. Even though you were the one who started this conversation? Did I do something to make you mad? Did you forget? A while ago, you sexually harassed me inside the club building. Sexually harassed? When I was patting your head? It seemed like Airi was bad with men, so having her head stroked by Keiki was more unpleasant than pleasant for her as it turned out. That was why she was acting like this towards him right now. I will not forget that humiliation. No, I was actually trying to, but seeing you sitting here has rekindled my rage. Even though you could have just ignored me. Actually, I thought of drop-kicking you right off the bat, but you were sighing, so I held off on that for now. So you were worried about me? Are you an idiot? As if I would be worried about someone like you. You were just being a bother, sitting there and looking so pitiful. If you're going to be depressed, then do it at home. You're as harsh as ever. Were you dumped by the girls from the calligraphy club? That's good news. I'm not going out with anyone, okay? Airi certainly didn't hold back against Keiki. Apparently, she had come up with the misunderstanding that Keiki was trying to build a harem with the calligraphy club girls, and that caused her to be even more harsh towards him. Are you worried about something? Huh? Keiki replied. Did you not hear me? I'm asking if you're being troubled by something. So you're willing to listen to my troubles? Don't misunderstand. Though it's nothing more than troublesome, it's the job of a student council member to listen to the troubles of students. That's why, even though I don't really want to do it, I have no other choice. That's all I'm saying. Acting like a textbook example of a tsundere, Airi went, and looked away. Though she was acting callous towards him, she still seemed to be a kind girl at heart. Then I'll take you up on that offer. But aren't you going to sit down? That's right, I will take you up on that offer, Airi said, taking a seat on the bench. However, she sat quite the distance away from Keiki, on the very edge of the bench. Nagase-san, aren't you a bit far away? Is that so? I think this is an appropriate distance, though. For Keiki, it felt like the distance between them right now symbolized their psychological difference. And what is it that you're worried about, Kiryu-senpai? Well, recently I've been troubled by a relentless string of successive attacks from the calligraphy club girls. You're immediately talking about your affairs? How indecent! A few seconds after the topic had switched to Keiki's problems, it had already seemed like it was at a dead end. Kiryu-senpai, you're the owner of that harem, right? It's a bit different from what you're imagining, Nagisa-san. I really am at an. Why don't you resist a bit more? The situation won't change if you just let it happen to you. What did you just say, Nagisa-san? I'm saying that you should bring about change with your own hand. Nothing will change without any effort. For Keiki, who had been on the edge of despair, these words were like a ray of light. Completely moved, he reflexively grabbed his Kohai's hand. Nagisa-san! What is it? Thank you, you're like a goddess to me right now. Ivory was taken aback by being thanked like that out of the blue. I don't really get it, but would you be so kind as to let go of my hand? I'll report you for sexual harassment, okay? Excuse me. Keiki let go of her hand. Suddenly grabbing a girl's hand like that, somebody really is a dangerous creature. I'll have to go and disinfect it later. Though it was heavy verbal abuse, Keiki didn't mind her poisonous tongue right now. Really, thank you so much. My doubts have been cleared up, all thanks to you. Is that so? I'm glad to hear it. Seeming a bit flustered, Irie turned her back to Keiki. But don't get the wrong idea here. I still haven't forgiven you, and Kiryu-senpai will forever be my enemy. Wait, he's gone? When she turned back to Keiki, he had completely disappeared. Isn't that a bit rude? This is why men are so... In that moment, her already low level of affection felt even lower. After returning to the school building, Keiki headed straight for the club room. His mood had greatly improved after receiving that advice. That's right, why did I never come up with that? The situation would never improve if Keiki didn't take the initiative. In sports, you never win by defending, so nothing starts if you don't take proactive action. Right now, Keiki had 2 wishes in his heart. The first wish was to get a cute girlfriend and enjoy his adolescence to its fullest. The second wish was to return his school life, which had been thrown into chaos by the perverts, back to normal. I'll have to do what only I can do. Having arrived at his destination, Keiki calmly knocked on the door. Excuse me. All the club members were gathered. When the door was suddenly flung open, the girls, who were sitting around a table, looked at his direction in confusion. Keiki-kun, what's wrong? Did you eat something bad? Did you hit your head somewhere? Were you confessed to by a boy? Nii-san, I'll give you a lap pillow if you don't feel so good, okay? Without answering the girls' worried questions, Keiki stepped into the room. I have something important to talk about with all of you. He thought back to when he had talked with Mao beneath the starry sky. At that time, Keiki had thought about what the future would look like if the girls from the club became normal girls. His senpai he looked up to, his honestly cute Kohai, his close classmate, his considerate little sister. What if everyone turned into normal girls? But this future would never come. That was what Keiki honestly believed. It would never come if he didn't do anything to bring it about, that is. I'm done with the current situation in this club. Being told to become someone's slave, being told to make someone my pet, being a model for a BL manga, being shown someone's naked body at every possible opportunity. I want to change this abnormal situation. All this time, he had been driven into a corner by these perverted girls, but that was over now. Keiki strongly declared his will in order to stir up a revolution. So I want to turn all of you into normal girls. My goal is deperversion. What? Like this, his deperversion plan started, with the goal of turning every single one of those irregular trait-holding girls into fine, upstanding citizens. Chapter 2, Part 1. The following day after the upcoming reformation of the perverts was announced, it was a Wednesday with a clear blue sky. The reason that Keiki still couldn't quite calm down after taking a look at the sky from his own room was probably caused by his new mission that would start today, namely the deperversion plan to turn the female members of the calligraphy club into normal girls. After changing into his uniform, a certain picture left on the top of his desk happened to enter his field of view. Shown on said picture were 4 girls, each one with their own attractive smile. It was the photo that they had taken on the training camp. Looking at them like this, they're all really cute, huh? If it weren't for their perversion, every single girl would be brimming with their own charm. Before he had found out about her being a hardcore masochist, he looked up to his senpai Sayuki. If it weren't for her hardcore sadistic attitude, Yuika would be an angel. Without her Fujoshi trait, Mao was a classmate that Keiki could talk to about almost anything. And finally, his little sister Mizuha. without her exhibitionistic attribute, would be an ideal little sister with maxed out stats across the board. If Keiki managed to turn those girls into fetishless ones, his daily life would return to normal. He wouldn't have to act as a model for BL manga anymore, and he definitely would no longer have freshly worn panties stuffed into his mouth. And first and foremost, they would stop being a bother to this boy who was still hoping to get a cute girlfriend. No doubt everybody would be happy. The problem is, this won't be as easy as I'm hoping. What he needed was a magic spell that would turn those four Cinderella perverts into proper heroines. And it had to be quite the effective spell to boot. There would be no meaning to it if the heroines turned back after the clock struck 12. So after the prince, now it's the magician's turn to cast the transformation magic, huh? Even so, it would be very dubious if he was able to really turn them back into normal girls. However, just running away won't change a single thing. To spend a rosy high school life with a cute girlfriend, I definitely have to make this deperversion plan a success. Oops, would you look at the time? All just so that he could spend a wonderful time with a wonderful lover. Having pumped himself up, the novice magician stepped out of his room. Part 2. After leaving the house together with Mizuha, Keiki spoke to her as they walked towards school. I think I'm going to start with Mizuha. What do you mean? I'm talking about what I said yesterday. Inside the club room, I'm going to turn every club member into a normal, morally upstanding citizen. You were serious about that? Yeah, I could tell that you all weren't taking me seriously. When Keiki blurted out his deperversion idea, the girls reacted rather calmly to it, almost cold. They only gave responses like, "Is that so?" or "Good luck with that," and returned to their club activities. Currently, Keiki was the only one who knew of their special attributes, so to speak, hence their reaction since they didn't see the benefit to being cured. For me, I'm fine as long as Nissan gives me all of his attention. While she walked next to him, his exhibitionistic little sister pulled apart the area between the buttons of her shirt, giving Keiki a glance of her pastel green bra in the valley of her breasts. Mizuha had a grown-up expression on her face, and she was always taking selfies while wearing close to nothing. She was the definition of a perverted girl. Say, Mizuha, your Nissan right here doesn't really think that girls like you should show so much skin in front of a boy. Nissan, are you the type of boy who doesn't like glancing at a girl's bra like this? I actually do, but that only works if the girl herself is actually showing an embarrassed expression. Rather than showing it to me on purpose, I want to accidentally see it. That's how men work. Oh, Oni-chan looks really motivated right now for some reason. I believe in you. If it's Mizuha, you can surely be cured from being an exhibitionist. Though I would feel bad for Nissan. I don't think that's going to work out. I'm really not as much of a good girl as you make me out to be, even now. She suddenly stopped in her tracks and gently started lifting up her skirt. Her underwear, which should be guarding her most precious place, was nowhere to be found. See? Mizuha is a bad girl. She's not wearing panties while going to school. What are you doing? I just felt like not wearing panties today, that's all. The girl herself had stated before that there were days where she would go to school without wearing panties. The day where they were cleaning up the room, which was the day that Keiki had found her love letter, she wasn't wearing any panties the whole time. Though I have a pair in my bag just in case. If you have some, then put them on immediately. I decline. Why? Because I feel like doing this right now. I plan on enjoying this feeling of freedom and immortality today, so I can't give up on that just because Nissan asked me to. This girl is really done for. Keiki's expectation that reforming his little sister would be easy had been off the mark. Kiryu Mizuha was even more of a pervert than he had expected. If you really want me to wear some, then Nissan has to put them on for me. Excuse me? It took him a moment to grasp the words that came out of his little sister's mouth. If Nissan puts them on for me, I'm willing to give up on my no panties day. Will you overlook it, or will you forcefully put them on me? Which do you prefer, Nissan? These two questions quickly turned into one choice. Will he put the panties on his little sister or not? But his answer had been clear from the very start. I don't even have to think about that. Even if you cry and tell me you hate it, I'll definitely make you wear them. He could not allow his cute little sister to attend school without wearing panties. Having decided that, Keiki pulled his little sister into a nearby park beneath the shadow of a large tree. Then I'll leave it to you, Nissan. Yeah. With the panties he had received in his hands, Keiki gulped in front of the mission he had been entrusted with. Just like her bra, Mizuha's panties were pastel green. Of course, rationally thinking, the current situation was absolutely unthinkable, but Keiki had to force himself to do this, all for his lovable little sister. Here I go? Yeah, go ahead. Her eyes, filled with expectation, made Keiki feel even more embarrassed. In response, the girl lifted up one leg. Her foot, wrapped in her sock, softly brushed through one side of the panties. All the while, Keiki's heart was beating like crazy because of the intensely immoral feeling assaulting him. Come on, Mizuha, your other leg too. Yeah. Maybe she was nervous, but her voice stuttered as she responded. After wrapping the panties around both of her legs, he moved to the next step in the mission. Currently, her panties were hanging at her knees. At this rate, he just had to pull them up and the mission would be a success. Every time his fingers touched her soft skin, the girl let out a soft voice. Her face was colored a deep red because of the embarrassment, and sweat was building up on her skin. If someone saw us now, I'd totally die socially. Keiki's hands stopped right below Mizuha's crotch, only hidden by the skirt she was wearing. To pull out the panties completely, he would have to put his hands in there. Mizuha isn't wearing any panties today. In the 1 in a million chance that her skirt was pushed up right now, he would be able to see her most important place, completely unprotected. Not to mention that her high school skirt was extremely short. With just the slightest movement of his hands, he would be able to see everything. Nii-san, do you give up? No, I'll finish it until the very end. If this took any more time, they would be late for school. He mustered up the courage and lifted up Mizuha's panties. Slowly but steadily, his hands entered her skirt. Oni-chan's hands are entering my... They're going rampant inside my skirt. Can you not make this worse than it already is? Keiki felt like a doctor during surgery, possibly endangering the patient's life at every moment, until he finally finished putting them on safely. Did that make your heart race? Of course it did. Having Nii-san do that felt incredibly good. Phrasing. Seeing the girl's satisfied smile, Keiki vented distress in the form of a sigh. What in the world am I doing out here before school? Even though he had started this mission to fix the girl's perversion, he was actually fueling it even more, and there was a risk that he was turning into a pervert himself. Alright, I'll leave Mizuha's rehabilitation for later. My HP won't hold out. His mental health would seriously crumble at this rate. When lunch break arrived, Keiki sent an email to Sayuki stating that he had some business with her, inviting her to eat lunch with him. Immediately afterwards, his phone vibrated with her reply. Understood, I'll wait in the club room, was all it said. So he took the lunch that his little sister made for him and made his way towards the club room. When he opened the door, Sayuki lightly waved at Keiki while she sat on a chair. Welcome, you're here pretty early. Same to you, Sayuki-senpai. Classes ended early after all. Is that so? While making some idle talk, Keiki sat down as well, facing the girl. The girl had some sweet bread and today, senpai? My mother overslept this morning. I guessed that the cafeteria would be crowded as usual, so I grabbed something from a convenience store this morning. Couldn't there have been something better than just anpan? Like some cream bread? I don't particularly mind. I do like anpan, the upperclassman said in a sulking manner, taking a bite of her bread. The sight of her slowly but steadily nibbling on her bread looked very lovable, maybe because she was raised with good manners, but even her movements while eating a simple loaf of bread looked beautiful. While gazing at the girl in front of him, Keiki opened his own lunch and started eating. Both the egg omelet and the mini hamburgers were handmade by Mizuha. That lunch was made by Mizuha-san, right? Yeah, that's right. She's doing it every day and I can't thank her enough. I really should practice on my household skills too. If you could just make fried eggs, that would already be more than enough. Sorry for that, I guess. I'm just the girl whose fried eggs turn into scrambled eggs. While they made small talk like that, their lunch moved forward until Sayuki finished her anpan and Keiki completely cleaned out his lunchbox. So what did you want to talk with me about? I said it yesterday already, but I plan on making every member of the calligraphy club into a normal girl. You were serious about that? The same reaction as Mizuha. But if you're serious about that, don't you think it'd be pretty difficult? It might sound weird coming from me since I'm one of the people in question, but my fetish is anchored pretty deeply inside me, you know? That really isn't something you should say about yourself. Whatever it is, being schooled by Keiki-kun himself isn't all bad. Rather than that, I'm actually pretty happy. Being roped up completely naked, getting hot wax poured on my chest, getting my butt slapped, that's what you mean, right? I won't do that. So you won't? Is that so? Why do you sound so let down? Doing these sorts of things would make it even harder to cure this hardcore masochist. If you're not going to train me like that, then I'll sadly have to decline your offer. I can't imagine myself not being a masochist, and it doesn't sound like there's any benefit to me at all. I thought you would say that. And also, I have a dream. A dream? I want to get a fiendish owner and spend a fulfilling life as a pet. Throw away that dream right now. His negotiation with Sayuki had already reached an impasse. Rather than making her understand, it felt like it would be even more difficult from here on out. But if Keiki-kun were to give me a reward, I might be willing to rethink this. This gives me bad vibes right from the start, but what exactly do you have in mind? I would recommend a blindfold, handcuffed roleplay if you want to make me happy. That'd get me the most excited. And with Keiki going, Ke, those are some huge badonkas she's got there. I would listen to anything you ask. This person's done for. Right here was a person who looked like a young maiden in love, but was imagining the worst possible things. Wait a second. Maybe if I were to resist even more, then the punishment would become equally as harsh? What do you think, Keiki-kun? Just do whatever you want, senpai. Keiki looked at the panting girl in front of him with cold, dead eyes. Even he himself certainly couldn't imagine a future where this girl would turn into a proper citizen. At this point in time, Keiki judged the rehabilitation of the girl Tokihara Sayuki would be more difficult than he had imagined. Homeroom ended, and the homeroom teacher left the classroom. The long-awaited end of classes had arrived. Deciding that he would now move on with his plan, Keiki started his move. Now, Nanjo should be fast? Searching for Mao's silhouette, he spotted her right as she was about to step out of the classroom. Picking up his bag in a hurry, he chased after the reddish-brown-haired girl. Nanjo, wait a second. Kiryu? When he called out to the girl, who was in the middle of landing on the stairwell, she stopped and turned around, her expression looking somewhat displeased. What? I'm busy, you know. It's about yesterday, when I said that I would be rehabilitating the members of the calligraphy club. You were serious when you said that? I've heard that already, so let's just skip that. Going through the same conversation a third time was too much of a bother for him. I want you to hear me out. I want Nanjo to quit being a Fujoshi. That's not gonna work. For me, BL is like food. If I don't have my daily intake, I'll die. You'll die? If I don't read BL for a while, I start getting withdrawal symptoms. You're totally sick. Anyway, I don't have any time to play around today. The new BL magazine issue comes out today, and I have to buy that, read it immediately, and I also have to work on my own BL manuscript. Your schedule is full of BL. Buying it, reading it, and drawing it, Nanjo Mao's daily life is completely tainted by BL. Can I go now? I don't want the book to be sold out. Between me and BL, which is more important? BL. See you. She didn't hesitate for a single moment. This is the third failure in a row. Keiki certainly didn't expect things to go smoothly, but this development really made him feel sad. Keiki could only let out a sigh of resignation while looking in the direction where Mao had walked off. After seeing Mao off, Keiki took a seat on the bench inside the courtyard, reflecting on what had happened in the day. For now, I understand that you can't reason with a pervert. Mizuha, Sayuki, and Mao. He tried to have a proper talk with all three of them, only to get completely shot down every time. Not to mention they clearly stated that they wouldn't play along with Keiki's rehabilitation plan. They surely would never listen, no matter how many times he tried to tell them. This is going to turn into a long-term battle, huh? Keiki was now aware that the path ahead of him would not be an easy one. However, because of obvious reasons, he could not just allow himself to just ignore them. The only person who I haven't asked yet is Yuika-chan, but she'll probably shut me down just as quickly. After 3 consecutive rejections, Keiki believed that the 4th try wouldn't end any differently. No matter how much Keiki racked his brain for a solution, or even just a starting point, nothing came to mind. Without the necessary magic, he didn't even stand a chance against this hardcore sadistic Kohai. When he accepted that, another of that day's many sighs escaped Keiki's lips. He's sighing again. Nagase-san? When he lifted his head, Irie greeted him, standing at the exact same place as yesterday. Since she was holding what looked like files, she was probably in the middle of her job. Shouldn't your worries have been cleared up by now? They did indeed clear up, but another problem has appeared. Is that so? I'm glad to see that your life is in this much of a disarray. Nagase-san is as harsh as ever. What do you think I should do? Why do I always have to come running whenever you need advice? You did listen to me yesterday, though. Yesterday is yesterday, and I won't give you another service like that. And also, I'm kind of busy with the preparations for next week's sports festival. It's already that time of year, huh? This school's sports festival was always held in the hot summer of mid-September. They had the culture festival coming up in October as well, so the people from the student council must be pretty busy right now. Nagase-san really has it rough. Well, never mind that. Please listen to my problems. I decline. I have work to do now, so if you would excuse me. There is a girl who keeps harassing me. What should I do? Why did you suddenly start talking? I was almost gone. Her feet stopped, and the twin-tailed girl turned around, clearly displeased. Though if she had no intention of hearing out Keiki's trouble, she should have just ignored him in the first place. Even so, she called out to the boy who had been sighing in the courtyard. Although she really did seem to distrust men, she was still a kind girl deep down. For crying out loud! Okay, I get it, so hurry up and tell me. Letting out a sigh, Irie sat down on the bench as far away from Keiki as she could. Though the distance as far as before, it wasn't as much of a shock anymore. What was it again? You said something about a girl harassing you, right? Yeah, that girl is a first year like Nagase-san, and she always acts like a princess who wants to make me her servant. Of course, I declined her already, but she just won't give up, and now she keeps harassing me. Since saying terms like hardcore masochist and slave would be too extreme, he chose more of a soft vocabulary. For some reason, Kiryu-senpai is always talking about girls. You really are a playboy. You're wrong. I wonder about that, and you say you're getting harassed, but what exactly is she doing to you? Well, she suffocated me twice already. This clearly isn't on the level of harassment here, right? Of course, he couldn't tell Irie that he went unconscious 2 times after getting freshly worn panties stuffed in his mouth, or that she had suffocated him by pressing his face into her chest. I really want this girl to give up on me. What should I do about it? Is she only doing that to Kiryu-senpai? I think so. Nobody aside from the members of the club room should know of Yuika's sadistic mode. Isn't she doing this out of twisted affection? Twisted affection? This girl probably wants to get attention from you. If people get lonely, their affections grow twisted. So simple affection might be the reason for her actions. When he heard the word affection, Keiki became lost in thought. That was because of certain words that Yuika had said before. When she was still in grade school, Yuika had closed off her heart because her grandmother had passed away, and until she entered high school, she didn't have any friends and was always plagued by those memories, until Keiki had started talking to her in the library, making her happy as a result. So that's where her sadistic nature came from? If the reason that Yuika turned into a sadist with the wish of making Keiki her slave was simply because she didn't want to be left alone. So, if I can fill that loneliness, her harassment might come to a halt. It might be a good idea just to cling to her as much as you can for now. This is just clearly going to end up with me suffering in the end. Feelings cannot be too much, or too few. A good balance is necessary. However, giving it a bit more affection towards a girl who's feeling lonely surely wouldn't hurt. If you were to cling to her 24/7 like an older brother or even a lover, and not give her any time to feel lonely, she might stop her plans of making Keiki her slave. Although this was mere speculation. There might be some value in trying to figure it out. Now that it was decided it was time to move, with his unclear feelings washed away, Keiki lifted himself up from the bench. Thanks for listening to my worries once more. Let me treat you to some juice next time around. You're welcome, but I don't need any juice. Since this girl's tsundere attributes seemed to be just as hard to treat as the other girl's perversion, he decided that he would just force juice into her hands next time they met. And with this new goal in mind, Keiki left the courtyard behind him and started searching for his blonde-haired kohai. So the reason Yuika-chan turned into a sadist is because she felt lonely, huh? Of course, there was absolutely no proof behind that assumption, but he couldn't ignore the possibility. If he could stop the main reason why the girl turned into a sadist in the first place, he might actually succeed in rehabilitating her. But putting aside when we first met, she looks like she's having fun with the other girls in the calligraphy club. Her change was evident. After having joined the calligraphy club, she soon became more friendly with the also perverted members of the club and often showed her cute smile. She really hasn't looked lonely at all recently. Wait, what's this? Speaking of the devil, the girl was right there. Down the hallway, Keiki spotted the back of Koga Yuika. She had one hand on a window and was gazing outside with a sad expression, letting out a sigh like she had just been rejected by the boy she liked. She's totally looking lonely right now? The girl now had lonely written all over her face. Was Nagisa-san's theory really correct? Whether it is or not, I can't just ignore a kohai of mine after seeing that expression. Seeing a familiar expression from back when they had first met, Keiki's chest felt heavy. Back then, she had disregarded any human interaction, only to silently read her books on her own. Keiki could not allow her to return to those ways. Yuika-chan. Ah? Keiki-senpai? Today's weather is really nice, huh? Yes, that's right. By the way, is there something that's troubling you recently? How about talking with this Oni-san right here? Right now I'm actually troubled by Keiki-senpai's suspicious actions. Although Keiki had merely tried to brighten up the mood, it seemed to have ended in colossal failure. Yuika's eyes looked like she was gazing at a suspicious person. What should I do now? Now that it had come to this, Keiki had to bring out the big guns. There was only one choice he had to make here. Yuika-chan. Yes? When she was called out with such a sudden outburst, Yuika's shoulders twitched and her pink shirt fluttered a bit. Her gemstone-like blue eyes were looking straight at Keiki, who opened his mouth after stealing his resolve. I always want to be together with Yuika-chan. What? Receiving that sudden confession, a confused voice leaked out of Yuika's mouth. The girl's face immediately went red, her small body seemed to be shaking, and she looked up at her senpai, her eyes filled with expectation. That means you will become Yuika's slave? No, you're way off. What? So that's not it? The blonde-haired girl was clearly disappointed at those words. Her expectations were betrayed after all. I'm not talking about a master-slave relationship, but rather one of equal footing. Isn't that, what? Maybe because she was imagining something, the girl's face once again was red as a tomato. Additionally, she started playing with her bangs, clearly not being able to calm down. Why is she getting so red? I was just talking about a senpai-kohai relationship. But it didn't look like she hated the idea, so Keiki kept going. Am I really not good enough? Even if you suddenly ask Yuika like that... The girl averted her eyes and pursed her lips. Though the sight of her like that made his heart skip a beat, he had to focus on getting her approval first. So he took both of his hands and put them on the girl's shoulders. Yuika-chan. Keiki-senpai? I'll definitely make you happy, so will you let me be by your side? Not aware that his blonde-haired kohai was having a great misunderstanding, the natural airhead confidently asked her that question. Yuika turned red from ear to ear, and... Okay. After a prolonged silence, the girl slowly nodded her head. If senpai is so adamant about it, Yuika will give you permission just once. Looking up at Keiki in a flustered manner, Yuika accepted. All right, then I'll have you come with me right now. Where are we going? You'll see once we get there. Let's go on a date right now. Now that the negotiations were a success, he didn't have to hold back anymore. Pulling the still doubtful Yuika after him, Keiki headed down the stairs with his next step in mind. All righto, I think we should enjoy ourselves a bit in the arcade today. Keiki-senpai is really motivated. Still wearing their school uniform, the two of them were standing in front of a game arcade. As for why exactly they were at the game center, it was because... I don't know why Yuika-chan was sighing like that, but she'll surely cheer up if we let ourselves loose in the arcade for a bit. It was because Keiki just had a hunch that this might be a good idea. Yuika-chan, have you ever gone to an arcade like this? No, not once. Then this will be your first time. Passing through the automatic door, they were greeted by game machines lined up next to one another as far as they could see. This is pretty loud. You'll get used to it in time, so don't worry. The only ones who can get used to it immediately are the experts. Yuika doesn't understand what you want to tell her. So she said, but she did seem like she was enjoying herself. Grinning like a kid, Keiki thought that she really was cute. Though he wondered why she had suddenly taken a 180-degree turn mood-wise, good results were all that mattered. Do you play any games at home, Yuika-chan? From time to time, we do have some consoles at home. Oh, what kind of games do you like? Let's see. RPGs where you can get absorbed in the story. Just what I would expect from a book girl like you. By the way, the games Keiki liked the most were action games where you could hunt for monsters. He also liked games where he could raise up the cute monsters that Mizuha had caught. Yuika-chan, is there a game you'd like to play? Yuika would like to try a game that Keiki-senpai likes. A game I like, huh? Looking around the arcade, a certain machine caught his interest. It was the same game he had played earlier with Shoma and Mao, where you were supposed to shoot zombies with the provided toy guns on the big screen. That looks pretty interesting. But this game isn't the best for children. Don't treat Yuika like a kid. She is still a high school student. Then let's try it out, shall we? Standing next to each other, they faced the screen. When they put in some coins, the game started immediately. Running towards us like a group of hungry beasts? Do you want to attack Yuika that badly? If so, then Yuika has the perfect hand grenade for you low-life zombies! A few minutes later, his kohai had gotten more into it than Keiki had anticipated. Keiki was a bit taken aback by the hyper-gleeful Yuika, who sent the zombies flying with a hand grenade. Rather than rehabilitating her, it seemed like he had caught a glimpse into the abyss. Now, senpai, a fat zombie is walking over to you. Yeah, I got it. He decided to swallow it down and refocus on the screen in front of him once more. After they had played for around 20 minutes, they got overrun by a horde of zombies and were greeted by the game over screen. That's the first time Yuika has played a game like that. It was pretty interesting. I'm glad to hear that. Although they ended up getting eaten by the zombies, Keiki deemed it a success nonetheless, judging by Yuika's gleefulness. So what game should we try next?
Yuika is a bit tired after that action game, so she'd prefer a laid-back one this time.
Then how about a metal game? Searching for a more relaxed kind of game, they move through the arcade interior.
Keiki-senpai, what game is over there hidden behind the curtains?
What Yuika pointed out was a machine that formed a box. That's not a game, that's a photo booth.
Yuika has heard about those. It's the thing where you take pictures with your friends, right?
Couples use them pretty often, apparently.
Couples.
Yuika muttered to herself, gently grabbing Keiki's uniform.
Keiki-senpai, can we take a picture together?
Oh, nice idea. That would be the perfect memento for your first time here. They entered the booth through the curtains. Shortly afterwards, Keiki took out some coins and inserted them into the machine.
Yuika was the one who wanted a picture.
It's fine. It's my treat today.
Thank you so much,
said Yuika with a faint smile on her face.
This isn't all too bad.
What is?
Nothing at all. Hurry up and start it, senpai.
Yeah, you're right. After he finished inserting coins into the machine, a gleeful, girly voice rang out inside the booth.
Welcome, welcome. Let's decide on the frame of the photo, okay?
Shortly after that, several possible frames appeared on the monitor in front of them.
It seems like we have to decide on which one we want.
Yuika-chan, you can pick one.
Really? Then let's make it this one here.
The one Yuika decided upon was a frame with lots of hearts around it, which basically screamed out, "We're a couple." Isn't that a bit embarrassing?
Does Yuika hear any complaints?
None at all, just as the lady wishes. Keiki decided that he would try his best to make Yuika as happy as he could. Letting her choose the heart-filled frame wasn't that big of a deal anyway. Of course, there were also countless other stamps and gimmicks they could have tried, but since this was also a first for Keiki, he decided to go for the simplest design, so he started the shoot.
All right, we'll take the picture then, and say cheese.
Everything ran without a hitch, and on the finished product, both of them were showing a heartfelt smile. Maybe she was a bit nervous, but Yuika's cheeked down.
Thank you so much. Yuika will treasure it.
With a smile, Yuika softly embraced the picture. It wasn't the hardcore sadistic smile she would show when she was playing with Keiki, but rather an angelic smile that he loved so much. Since Yuika also seemed to be enjoying the game center, Keiki was bold enough to call this good progress. Alright, let's keep it rolling like this. There were still countless other games they hadn't checked out yet, and Keiki had decided that he wouldn't give the girl a single moment to feel lonely. It got really dark, didn't it?
Yeah, you're right.
After they played to their heart's content, they made their way to a nearby cafe where they talked about whatever came to mind. The day was already about to end when they left. Since it's gotten late, I'll walk you home.
Is that fine?
With that stature, I'd be worried that you'd get abducted.
That was where you should have said that it was because of Yuika's cuteness.
That's also a valid point.
Then Yuika will take you up on that offer, okay?
Leave it to me. After she entrusted him with guarding duty, both of them walked towards home, enveloped in a friendly mood.
Today was really fun. This was the second time that Yuika was able to go on a date with Keiki-senpai.
Yeah, this takes me back. At the time of their first date, Keiki had yet to find out about Yuika's hidden sexual fetish of being a hardcore sadist. In his defense, who could imagine that Yuika was the kind of girl to stuff her freshly worn panties into a boy's mouth like that? This might be a bit late to ask, but do you have a curfew, Yuika-chan?
It's fine. My parents get home really late after all.
Keiki had heard about Yuika's parents being busy most of the time. When he was over as a guest at the Koga household, he learned that they were even out working on the weekends. Say, aren't you lonely being alone at home all the time?
At first, Yuika was really lonely, but she has gotten used to it at this point.
Yuika-chan, was that the reason for her sigh before? Her parents would always come home late, and she would feel lonely as a result. Keiki could sympathize with her, since his parents were also always busy with their jobs. They rarely came home, if at all, but he never once felt lonely because he had Mizuha at his side. Even if his parents didn't come home for the day, they still had each other. But in Yuika's case, after she had lost her beloved grandmother, she had to put up with the loneliness herself. She would return from school and eat dinner alone. Just imagining that sight, Keiki felt a sharp pain in his chest.
Keiki-senpai?
When he suddenly stopped in his tracks, the girl peeked into his face. Are you really fine with that, Yuika-chan? Aren't you, mad at your parents or anything? Keiki knew that every family had their own set of circumstances, and that he didn't have any right to overstep those boundaries. Even so, when he was told that she had gotten used to it, and seeing her sad smile, he couldn't hold himself back.
Aren't you having the wrong idea? It's true that they always come home late, but they still give their best for Yuika, you know?
Oh, is that so? Rather, they're almost like helicopter parents. As soon as they get home, they rush to Yuika's room and hug her, listen to Yuika's stories from school, even though it's already very late, and it's always difficult to stop them from sleeping together with Yuika.
Okay.
That's why it's okay. Yuika does love her parents.
I see. Then that's fine. There was not a single fragment of dishonesty in her voice. Apparently, the love she gets from her parents is enough to make her not feel alone. While Keiki felt relieved, he also felt embarrassed that there had been such a moment of rage inside of him.
Wait, then why were you sighing like that at school today? There are indeed some depressing circumstances involved.
Depressing circumstances?
Actually, the other day, a long-running novel series that Yuika enjoyed came to an end.
A novel?
Since Yuika had been reading that series ever since middle school, she felt so sad that it was over now.
There has got to be limits on how misleading you can be. The reason for her sad expression was because a book series she liked came to an end. This whole incident happened because of Keiki's misunderstanding. I thought that there were some more, serious circumstances you were worrying about.
Was that the reason you suddenly invited Yuika on a date?
Well, yeah, but it turns out it was just my misunderstanding. Keiki awkwardly averted his gaze. However, Yuika gazed at her upperclassman with a kind smile.
You were worried about Yuika, right? That's what she likes about Senpai.
Well, thanks for that. After hearing that statement, Keiki felt even more embarrassed. You couldn't tell who was the senpai and kohai here. Then, how about we go home?
Yeah, let's.
As the two of them continued walking, Yuika softly gripped Keiki's hand.
Yuika-chan? Yuika wants to hold hands. Can we?
Well, I don't really mind. Though it took Keiki by surprise, he didn't feel the need to decline. Returning the grip, he realized just how small the girl's hand really was, and the happily smiling Yuika was so charming that Keiki wanted to tell the whole world about it.
So warm.
Yuika-chan really is like a spoiled child today.
Something like this shouldn't be weird at all.
With slightly quivering lips, the girl muttered the following words.
After all, we've become lovers now.
Excuse me? Keiki once more stopped when he heard that sudden declaration. Lovers? Who? Now it was Yuika's turn to freeze. For a while, they only awkwardly stared at each other until Yuika made the first move.
Keiki-senpai confessed to Yuika, didn't you?
Confessed? Right after he heard the word lovers, the next bombshell dropped. After rummaging through his memories, he couldn't find anything that he did that could be considered a confession. Wait, what do you mean? I have absolutely no memory of that. In that moment, every human emotion vanished from Yuika's face.
Ah, is that so? Interesting.
Yuika-chan?
So it was Yuika's misunderstanding. So that's not what you meant by staying at Yuika's side.
Muttering something to herself, she suddenly let out an ominous-sounding laugh.
Keiki-senpai, grit your teeth for a moment.
Without giving Keiki any time to process this terrifying phrase, the girl's fist rammed into his stomach, a true Tekken punishment. After receiving such an unexpectedly harsh hit, Keiki lost his strength in his legs and fell to his knees, only for his jaw to be gripped tightly by Yuika's right hand.
Yuika-chan! Don't bite Yuika's fingers, okay?
With his cheeks held in the custody of Yuika, his mouth was forced open, and Yuika pushed her fingers into his mouth. She grabbed his tongue and started yanking it as hard as she could.
Ooh, so this is the tongue that dares play with a young maiden's heart? It's this wicked tongue, right?
Of course, this was the first time that an incident like this had happened to the slave candidate. Not even aware of how he had made the hardcore sadistic girl mad, he still received her brutal punishment after such a long time. Part 3. That evening, Yuika, now changed into her pajamas, was lying on top of the bed in her room.
Yuika doesn't want to live anymore.
Letting out a girly roar, she pressed her bright red face against her pillow and kicked her legs up and down. This was how she had been ever since taking a bath and returning to her room.
Making that kind of misunderstanding so embarrassing.
After hearing Keiki's words, she had gotten the wrong idea, had made them out to be a confession, and had gotten all excited. That had resulted in her bold actions in the arcade, like picking the heart frame at the photo booth or holding the boy's hand on the way home. She felt like staying shut in at home for all of eternity out of embarrassment as she could. Taking out her student identification card out of the bag that lay on the ground next to her bed, she opened it up and looked at the photo from the photo booth.
Senpai tried his best for Yuika, didn't he?
He also has had a big misunderstanding. He had only seen her in school and thought, Yuika-chan is feeling lonely, which started the whole deal. He wanted to fix that loneliness at any cost.
That was the only reason why he was so kind to her.
It's true that Yuika was lonely until she entered high school, but she's not lonely anymore, you know?
Even though she was unable to make any friends, the boy always called out to her. Yuika joined the calligraphy club because of him, and she was actually enjoying it now. Everything was because of the one male upperclassman.
Yuika still thinks that this way of phrasing it was too misleading.
Even though she was wrapped up in warm feelings, it all came crashing down the very next instant.
Even though he's just a slave candidate, saying that he always wants to be next to Yuika.
Those confession-like words echoed inside her mind countless times. Playing with a young maiden's heart like that really deserved a severe punishment, Yuika thought, and Yuika felt extremely mad at herself for getting her hopes up with such an insensitive boy.
Keiki-senpai, Yuika will not forgive you until you become her slave, okay?
Yuika pointed at the slave candidate shown on the picture from the photo booth and let her anger out with those words. Part 4. This is an incident that occurred about 2 hours before Yuika was kicking her legs up and down on her bed. After safely escorting his kohai home, he was currently hurrying to his own house. The reason for that was a short email exchange from a few moments ago. I'm going to be home late, so go ahead and eat dinner without me.
It's fine, I'll wait for Nissan.
Even though she could just eat without me, this girl. But he could understand Mizuha's feelings. Eating together with someone else was worlds better than being alone. Still, why did Yuika-chan get so angry? Even though it was looking so good the whole time, at the very last second it ended in failure. It was another loss in his fight to turn the female club members into normal citizens. It really didn't seem like it would be a short battle. What should I do about this? Racking his mind while he was walking down the dark streets, a familiar person entered his view. Hiding in the shadow of a telephone pole, the identity of this suspicious person was Koharu-senpai?
What? Kiryu-kun?
It was Otori Koharu, wearing her hoodie as always. She looked exactly like a lolly, which was perfect for a certain friend of Keiki's, but her blue ribbon indicated that she was actually a third-year high school student. By the way, she was actually the daughter of the company chief of Otori Construction.
Don't scare me like that. I thought my heart was about to stop.
It's because Senpai was doing something suspicious like that. Are you stalking Shoma again? Following the girl's gaze, he found a familiar-looking ikemen walking down the street.
I was just watching the actions of the person I love.
So you're stalking him.
Don't say it like that.
To sum it up, this small girl was a full-fledged stalker. Although she was supposed to have become a provisional couple with Shoma, she still seemed unable to shake off her old habits. Koharu-senpai is basically Shoma's girlfriend already, so is there really a need to hide like this instead of calling out to him?
No, that's... Wait, Kiryu-kun made me lose sight of Shoma-kun.
Because of me?
Anyway, I have to follow him. This is an emergency, so I'll explain the circumstances while we walk.
So it's already decided that I'll be coming with you. Not giving Keiki any chance to complain, she was already moving down the dark street. Because of her small stature, no matter how she hurried, Keiki had no problem catching up. And why is Senpai in stalking mode right now?
Actually, Shoma-kun has been acting weird recently.
Is that so?
Before, I would wait for his club activities to end and we would walk home together, but recently he keeps turning me down. Even if I asked for the reason, he wouldn't explain it to me.
I see, that really is a bit weird.
And so I was afraid he might be unfaithful.
No, I think you're pretty safe in that regard. Akiyama Shoma was a hardcore lolicon. Even though he was extremely popular because of his good looks, he was known to reject every confession he had ever gotten. For Keiki, it would be almost impossible to think that he had suddenly changed that part of himself. Isn't that Shoma-kun over there?
Kiryu-kun, nicely done.
Around 20 meters away from them, Keiki spotted Shoma, standing in place. Both of them quickly hid in the shadow of a vending machine and carefully checked out the situation. The man, wrapped up in a grown-up looking outfit, was standing at an intersection. One might think he was waiting for his turn to cross the street, but even after the light turned green, he showed no intention of stepping forward. What's this guy doing?
Maybe he's waiting for the lolly girl he's cheating on me with.
That's taking it a bit far, don't you think?
Immediately after the club ended, Shoma-kun went home to change, only to step out again. Don't you think that this is weird?
It's more weird to me that you're following him around his daily life like that. However, Keiki had to agree with the girl. After waiting for a short moment, a great change occurred.
A woman is walking towards him.
Walking up to Shoma was a woman with short hair, and she started talking with Shoma.
The sudden appearance of a beauty? Is he really cheating?
Calm down. It might just be an acquaintance of his, like a senpai from his part-time job. Shoma-kun doesn't have a part-time job. Is that so? The woman seemed to be a university student. She was wearing simple, comfortable clothes with a shirt and shorts, and even though Keiki was quite far away, she looked like quite the beauty. Who in the world is that person? I wonder? Shoma and the beauty exchanged some words and then started walking next to each other. Of course, Keiki and Koharu carefully followed them. Ah, they went into a park. What are they doing out here this late? I really don't think you have to worry about what you're probably imagining. It wasn't hard to guess what Koharu was fearing right now, but Keiki still counted on the fact that Shoma was a hardcore lolicon. What do we do? Should we keep following them? As if I could just ignore this right now. That figures. In the end, Keiki followed Koharu into the park. They spotted Shoma standing beneath a telephone pole and hid in the shadow of a nearby tree. Once they focused their ears to catch the conversation of Shoma and the girl, this was what they had heard. Hey, when you graduate from high school, will you marry me? This proposal of the beautiful girl robbed the two stalkers of their breath. This mysterious girl was currently forcing her way between Koharu and Shoma. After seeing this TV drama level confession, Keiki could only stare in surprise at this unexpected development. Chapter 3, Part 1. I'm home. Welcome back, Nissan. Huh? It was a bit past 8 p.m. in the evening. Keiki, when he announced his return, was greeted by a wide-eyed Mizuha. She was probably so surprised because he had brought a rather unusual guest with him. Otori-senpai? Hello there. Because of the previous incident, it should come to no surprise that Koharu wasn't in the greatest spirits. Unsure of what to do, Mizuha turned to Keiki. What's this about? Some stuff happened. Sorry, but can you make some tea right now? Yeah, okay. Mizuha probably decided it was for the best to let things calm down a bit after seeing Koharu's state. She went into the kitchen and started preparing tea without asking any questions. Let's try to go to my room for now, Koharu-senpai. Yes. He led Koharu up the stairs to the second floor and entered his room. After turning on the lights, he lent the girl a cushion she could sit on. However, now that they had arrived, Keiki had found himself unable to find any words. While he watched the girl sink into her cushion with a dark expression on her face, Keiki felt a sharp pain in his chest. This was how Koharu had been ever since they had seen Shoma being confessed to by that beauty. Unable to cure the girl's shock, Keiki saw no other option but to take her with him. Otherwise, she might have stood there for all eternity. I really don't think that Shoma would do anything to make Koharu-senpai sad, though. Keiki didn't know how Shoma had responded to the confession, but he did know very well that Shoma was not the kind of person who would hurt Koharu of all people. Koharu, for her part, should know that, but who could blame her for having doubts after seeing that scene? In that moment, a knocking sound came from the door, and Mizuha came in. Here you go. Thanks, Mizuha. After setting the tray on the table, Mizuha also joined them. She handed Koharu a teacup with a cat illustration on it. Here you go. It's still piping hot, so be careful. Thank you so much. Hot chocolate. Koharu accepted the cup and gazed at the surface of the liquid. After breathing on it a few times to cool it down, she slowly brought the cup to her mouth. It's delicious. With this, the girl seemed to have calmed down, as tears started forming in her eyes when she spoke those words. She probably had held herself back the whole time ever since the park. While softly patting the poor girl's head, Mizuha directed her gaze at Keiki. Nissan, what happened? Well, the thing is... And thus he gave Mizuha an overview of the events, about how Shoma had always turned down Koharu whenever she invited him places, about how she had gotten worried and they started to follow him, about how Shoma had been confessed to by a mysterious beauty. Will you marry me was a pretty clear confession after all. I see, so something like that happened. I'm sorry. Even though I'm the oldest one here, I'm showing you my pathetic side. Being older doesn't have anything to do with it. Of course she would be devastated after seeing something like that. Yeah. Keiki tried his best to cheer her up, but Koharu's tears wouldn't stop rolling down her cheeks, and her expression still just as dark as before. Will Shoma-kun really fall in love with a grown-up woman? We're talking about Shoma-kun here. I really don't think he'd just fall in love with someone older than him. I agree. There's no way that he would go against his lolicon personality to that degree. The siblings' opinions were in agreement. Chances were pretty high that all of this had just come from the woman, and it was nothing more than a confession that he would reject, just like the countless confessions he had rejected at school. However, no matter how much Koharu trusted them, words alone wouldn't be enough to clear her worry. If Shoma-kun's lolicon personality is still just as strong as ever, why is he avoiding me? Has he gotten tired of me already? There's no way. Knowing Shoma, there has to be some reasoning behind all of this. It'd be great if that were true. I'll help you, so let's gather some information first. You'll help me? I'm your Cupid, after all. Kiryu-kun, thank you. Her dark expression looked like it had slightly changed for the better. After seeing the exchange between the two of them, Mizuha let out a giggle. Mizuha? Well, I was just thinking that this is exactly what I love about you. Love? You're saying this in front of Koharu-senpai? Don't mind me, just flirt with each other, please, Koharu said. No, we won't? Though Keiki would have loved to complain more, he noticed that a faint smile had returned to the girl's face, so he decided to leave it at that. Now that the tension in the room had evaporated, a loud rumble came from Keiki's stomach. Excuse me, my stomach was laughing too. That reminds me, we haven't eaten dinner yet, Mizuha commented, getting up from the floor. Though it's a bit late now, we should go eat something. You're welcome too, Koharu-senpai. Mizuha's menu for the night was her special beef stew. And even though it definitely ran longer than usual, their dinner was that much more energetic with one more person joining them. Part 2. The following day during lunch break, Keiki started his inspection to gather information about Shoma. He took Mizuha's homemade lunch and joined him in the school cafeteria, closely inspecting the ikemen as he gulped down his kitsune udon. Now, how exactly should I bring this up? Just directly bringing up the topic would only end in failure, so Keiki decided to start with a more light topic. By the way, I started something new recently. Oh, what did you start? A plan to turn the calligraphy club members into normal citizens. That's quite the difficult thing you tried to do there. What made you suddenly think of trying that? One part of it is that their attacks are becoming more fierce, and I'm starting to worry that my body won't be able to hold out. Ah, yeah, it sounds really rough listening to your stories. The other part of it is, if I did meet my destined girl, I doubt they would simply let me enjoy my time with her. Now that you mention it, they probably wouldn't give up on you just because you found a girlfriend. Maybe it was because he had pictured that future, but Shoma showed a bitter smile. It was even worse for Keiki, who had seen a situation like that unfold in one of his recent dreams. All of his efforts towards finally getting a girlfriend would probably be destroyed in an instant by the perverts of the calligraphy club. So, in order to protect my love life, I decided to turn them all into normal girls. I see, so you're going to try to cure their fetishes then. Having talked about his deperversion plan, Keiki was on a good roll towards bringing up the desired topic. Speaking of which, I went to a game center with Yuika-chan yesterday. On the way home, we stopped by a park. We spotted you talking with a girl there. The moment Keiki brought that up, Shoma froze with his chopsticks halfway to his mouth. So you saw? Yeah, by complete accident. Hey Shoma, was that? Sorry Keiki, I really don't want to talk about it. Huh? His usual cheerful mood was gone, and all that was left was a bleak tone of voice. Shoma wordlessly finished his lunch, picked up his lunch tray, and got up from the table. I'll be going ahead then. Yeah. He wasn't even half done eating his little sister's handmade lunch, and apparently spoiled his friend's mood. Chasing after him was practically impossible for Keiki. What is this? That reaction was so not Shoma-like. Is he really cheating? He would have loved to have some way to deny his own words, but he couldn't find a way to do so. Not to mention that Shoma and Koharu weren't officially going out, so Shoma had the freedom to do whatever he wanted with whoever he wanted. Even so, Keiki couldn't ignore the situation after seeing the young maiden's tears the day prior. It was precisely because he knew how strong her feelings for Shoma were that he sincerely wished for them to be happy. Now what should I do about this? Still feeling uneasy, the troubled Cupid put an egg roll in his mouth. After classes ended, Keiki and Koharu were once more tailing the boy named Akiyama Shoma. I'm sorry, Koharu-senpai, I couldn't be of any help. Don't worry about it, Kiryu-kun. You tried your best. But even after I was talking to so high and mighty, I couldn't find out anything. I told you, it's fine. Let's find a way to turn this around now. I really am a worthless man, having to be cheered up by such a tiny girl. I keep telling you this over and over, but I'm still older than you, you know. While they hid behind a parked car at the side of the street, Koharu puffed out her cheeks like a little kid. We'll lose him if we don't move. Understood. Then let's hide in the shadow of that vending machine. Using various objects on the streets and sidewalks, they hid their presence while tailing their target. Since they had been unable to get any information out of the target himself, the only thing they could resort to was getting information with their own eyes. Although Mizuha also wanted to join in on this mission, 3 people moving like this in broad daylight would gather too much attention, so they decided to keep it to the same pairing as yesterday. Did the tennis club not have any practice today? They didn't. Their advisor's getting ready to go on a trip, so they skipped today. Normally he'd invite me on a date on club-free days like this. Yeah, and he left the classroom immediately after homeroom was over too. Not to mention, this direction is... Yeah, this isn't the way to Shoma-kun's home. After leaving the school, he went the complete opposite direction of his home. Taking everything into consideration, it felt really strange. He's not meeting the person from yesterday, right? Koharu seemed to be thinking about the same possibility, and her expression grew more clouded. So is he really cheating on me? You're wrong. Probably. It's probably because I'm so tiny. Even though I'm in my 3rd year, everyone has bigger breasts than me. That's more of a bonus for Shoma though, right? While talking about these idiotic things, they kept tailing the target in front of them. All the while, Keiki was impressed by Koharu's high skill for stalking other people. It's amazing, but this really isn't a useful skill for everyday life. While he complained about her unnecessary skill, around 10 minutes passed. Their target now had arrived in a wide open place in front of the train station. However, instead of stepping back inside the station, Shoma just rested in front of the big clock, checking his smartphone. This totally looks like he's waiting for his lover, doesn't it? Now, nothing's been decided yet. That's right, approaching him would be a bad move, so let us watch this unfold over here. Close to the entrance, both of them hid in the shadow of a small, compact building. After watching him for a bit, Koharu suddenly raised her voice with an "Ah!" making Keiki twitch in shock. What is it? Shoma-kun is smiling when he looks at the female grade schoolers that are walking by. Oh, he's as much of a lolicon as ever. Looking at those girls with that beastly look on his face. So rather than a legal lolly like me, he prefers the more immoral, illegal type, I wonder? If he laid a hand on them, that'd be the end of his life. Please calm down, okay? That's right. I got too aggravated. But seeing him act like this, I think it's safe to say that his lolicon attribute is still going strong as ever. Ah, I see. So there's still a chance. Thanks to the grade schoolers whose names they didn't even know, Koharu found a new hope. It would even be safe to say that accepting the grown-up woman's confession should be impossible. By the way, Koharu-senpai, do you often wish that you were a bit taller? You called yourself tiny just now. As a woman, I really admire girls with a style like Tokihara-san. I feel like comparing yourself to an irregularity like her wouldn't do you any good. Of course, there was no need to specify which part of the body they were talking about. But when I'm around Shoma-kun, I don't have to worry about the size of my chest. Even if they say small, he still loves them. Koharu-senpai. Seeing the girl smile, although the accompanying phrase was still off, Keiki could feel his heart go thump. At the same time, he swore that he would definitely help the girl realize her love. And that was when the situation drastically changed. A short-haired beauty came walking towards Shoma with a cheerful, "Shokun," while waving her hand. That person is... You're right. It was without a doubt the beauty they had seen yesterday. Not to mention there was another woman walking right next to her. There's another one? Oh, seriously. They would have never guessed that another character would appear then and there. Unlike the beauty from yesterday, this woman had semi-long hair flowing down her back. The beauty from yesterday was once more wearing shorts, while the new character wore a blouse and long skirt. Somehow I feel like I've seen them before. But where? Keiki squinted at them. He couldn't make out the beauty's face clearly yesterday because of the dim lighting in the park, but he remembered them. However, while Keiki was searching through his memories, Koharu let out another shriek. Ah! When he followed her line of sight, he saw the two beauties clinging to both of Shoma's arms. On his right arm was the short-haired woman, on his left arm was the long-haired woman. Watching this happen to the boy she liked, Koharu's shoulders started shaking in anger. I can't hold this back anymore. I'm going to ask him directly what this is about. Koharu-senpai! Before he could stop her, the girl was already making her way towards Shoma. Shoma-kun! Koharu-chan? Shoma was clearly taken aback by the sudden appearance of the hoodie girl, and his companions also seemed interested in this development. What's this? I don't think it's a good idea to cheat like this. Excuse me? Shoma's expression made it plain to see that he was completely lost by her accusation. Instead, the short-haired woman spoke up first. Now that's a twist. I like this sort of zealous fight, you know. What? Now it was Koharu's turn to be surprised by the unexpected response of her rival in love. Hey, are you possibly Shokun's girlfriend? Yes, that's right. Though only provisionally right now, though. I see. If you're Shokun's girlfriend, then let us introduce ourselves properly. The moment the other woman lined up next to the beauty from yesterday, Koharu couldn't hold back her surprise. After all, they both looked almost identical. Nice to meet you. I am Akiyama Asahi. I'm Sho-kun's Oni-chan. Same here. I am Sho-chan's older sister, Yuhi. These two twins, calling themselves Shoma's elder sisters, smiled at Koharu. To her, it looked almost like someone had put up a mirror between the two of them. Part 3. After their introductions, Asahi proposed continuing the conversation in a nearby store, and the rest of them agreed. They sat down at a table in a nearby cafe. After they ordered themselves some drinks, Koharu was now sitting between the twins, facing the two boys. On her right was the short-haired Asahi, and on the right was the long-haired Yuhi. Oh, so you're Koharu-chan. You're so small and cute. You definitely match Sho-chan's preferences perfectly. Asahi started patting Koharu on the head, while Yuhi started pushing her fingers into her cheek. Now I know why I felt like I had seen them before. Keiki had encountered the sisters a few times when he'd gone over to play at Shoma's house, and while Keiki was lost in thought thinking about it, Asahi turned her gaze towards him, patting Koharu all the while. It's been a while, Kei-kun. We haven't seen each other at all recently. Yeah, that's right. Don't tell me. Did Kei-chan also get a girlfriend? That'd be great if that was the case. Though he hadn't managed to get a girlfriend, it was true that Keiki hadn't visited the Akiyama household recently. He was too busy fending off the perverted girls after all, and Shoma had gotten a provisional girlfriend in Koharu, so his bro time had gone down substantially. But that really surprised me. After calling Sho-kun out to help me with groceries, I'm suddenly being treated like my little brother's lover. I'm sorry about that. I had a good laugh, so it's fine, but why did you think that Sho-kun was cheating on you? When Asahi asked that, Koharu showed an unpleasant expression. Yesterday, I saw Shoma-kun and Asahi-san's conversation in the park about marrying you and so on. Ah, so you saw that. That's a bit embarrassing. Did Shoma-kun and Asahi have some sort of forbidden relationship? No. Don't worry about that. I was just practicing for a play. A play? Asani is a member of the theater club at her university, and I was helping her out with her practice, that's all. Since the place where I normally practice was currently being used, we had to do it somewhere else, but it would be bad if the neighbors overheard us saying things like that in a loud voice at home. So that's why you were at the park? Exactly. Since I feel better when I practice with someone else, I called Sho-kun to help me. Sorry for giving you that misunderstanding. No, I should be the one to apologize for jumping to conclusions like that. After lowering her head to Asahi, Koharu focused her gaze on Shoma. I'm sorry for doubting you, Shoma-kun. You don't have to worry about that. Making a small girl like Koharu-chan jealous is like a reward to Sho-kun. Nissan, shut it. Now, there's no need to be embarrassed. So cute. Shoma turned red when his sister teased him about Koharu, and seeing that, Asahi grinned from ear to ear. Of course, now that the misunderstanding had been cleared up, a smile came back into Koharu's expression. Good for you, Koharu-senpai. Her suspicions of Akiyama Shoma cheating on her were cleared up, and the incident was now over. As for Shoma, you could have just told me about that. If you had, I wouldn't have doubted you like that. I do feel bad for saying it in a way that could be misinterpreted easily, but I had my reasons. Your reasons being what? It seemed like he didn't want his twin sisters to hear them, so he brought his face closer to Keiki and whispered in his ear. Even though it's just practice for her play, I don't want to have any nightmares about my blood-related older sister whispering sweet words like that into my ears. Ah, that's right. You said you were pretty bad with your older sisters, right? Since he had been through something similar, Keiki could understand Shoma's feelings. On top of that, it was coming from someone older than Shoma, so it really must have been a nightmare for him. But there shouldn't have been any problems with talking to Koharu-senpai about it, right? She was really worried, you know. Then I would have run into the risk of involving Koharu-chan with them, and I definitely wanted to avoid that bothersome scenario. Bothersome scenario? While question marks appeared above Keiki's head, he turned his gaze towards the twin sisters, who were still doting on Koharu-chan. Right now, Yui was rubbing her head against Koharu's. Koharu-chan is a really cute one. I want to make her my little sister. Then why don't we have her marry Sho-kun? Marry? Although the sight in front of him looked nothing more than a typical girl's talk, Shoma apparently thought of it as a bothersome scenario. But yeah, in the end, the twins looked at each other with a smile and, no matter how much of a good girl Koharu-chan is, we won't hand over Sho-chan that easily. In that moment, the atmosphere took a complete 180 turn. The feeling that everyone was at home completely disappeared, only to be exchanged by bleakness and tension. Their gentle gazes turned into glares, like snakes looking at a rabbit. What just happened? See, this is what I mean. What? I told you before, didn't I? My older sisters are all helpless brocons. Ah. Earlier, Shoma had told Keiki why exactly he had turned into a lolicon. To sum it up, the main trigger had been a Valentine's Day in the past, when both sisters had only worn a thin layer of chocolate and waited for their poor younger brother in the bath. So these girls are just as bad of perverts as the girls from the calligraphy club. Keiki had never expected to find so many perverts this close to him, and while Keiki was busy questioning the fate of this rotten world, Asahi clapped her hands together. Oni-chan just thought of something good. What a coincidence, Asahi-chan, so did I. Something good? Koharu's response almost sounded like she was afraid, and the twins responded with a smile. Yes, in order to see if Koharu-chan is a worthy girl for Shokun, how about we conduct a little test? And this is how the marriage exam for entering the Akiyama household began. In the end, every protest from the younger brother was all for naught, and the location changed to a better place suited for Koharu's sudden exam. I'm sorry that you got wrapped up in this, Koharu-chan. No, I don't mind this at all. This is why I didn't want my older sisters to meet up with you. The three of them were walking down the street, illuminated by the setting sun, following the Asahi and Yui sisters. Why do I have to come with you? You've been here from the start, so stay with us until the end, would you? To be honest, I'm not sure if I can stop my older sisters by myself if they go on a rampage. Oi, what exactly is going to happen? In response to his fear-filled question, Asahi called out to him, not stopping at all. You don't have to be so afraid, you know. We're not going to do anything that would break the law. Exactly. She just has to pass 2 different tests that we thought of. The fact that you thought of them makes me worry even more. It's weird to see such an exasperated expression on Shoma-kun's face. It seems like Shoma is bad at dealing with his older sisters after all. The exam for marrying into the family would be guided by Asahi and Yui both, and in order to pass it, it seemed that Koharu had to pass 2 separate tests. Oh, and I totally thought that Koharu-senpai would already know Asahi-san and Yui-san, since you already know almost everything about him. I knew he had an older sister, but my stalking was only directed towards Shoma himself. Ah, is that so? While Keiki and Koharu were conversing, the twins stopped in their tracks. We've arrived at the first exam site! A karaoke bar? It was a completely normal karaoke bar you could find anywhere. When everyone entered, they paid the fee and walked towards their room. Asahi put down her backpack, picked up the microphone, and handed it to Koharu. Here, this is Koharu-chan's mic. Ah, yes. So the first test will be a competition of singing and proficiency? There's no need to sing at all. We're in a karaoke bar, but we're supposed to not sing? The high school students all stared in confusion, and Keiki was the first to muster up the courage to ask. So it's not a karaoke competition? Of course not. I don't mean to brag, but I'm totally tone deaf. That's not really something to brag about. Then why are we even here? We would only bother the other customers if we did this in a normal restaurant, you know. So that's what you consider rational thinking. Assaulting your brother while butt naked is no problem at all, but they worry about that. Ah, Koharu-chan, sit next to Yui if you would. The men can sit on the stairs over there. Following Asahi's instructions, everyone found their places to sit. They gave her their attention while she stood in front of the TV. Ah, this will be Asahi Oni-chan's test called the Shokun Quiz Show. When Asahi's words were transmitted through the speakers, the 3 friends could only repeat her words, dumbfounded. Just as the name suggests, it'll be a quiz completely centered around Shokun. If you're really Shokun's girlfriend, then you should know everything about him after all. We've separated the 2 of you so you can't cheat during this test. It's totally not because she wanted to tease you. So you didn't, huh? Her true intentions are leaking out. The 2 boys were glaring at Asahi with disappointed gazes, while Koharu was returning to a serious expression. Then, Asahi-san, how many questions do I have to answer correctly to pass? We wouldn't want to make it too extreme, so out of 10 questions, 8 at least. 8. To be fair, 8 questions out of 10 is quite the high bar, but Koharu turned on her microphone in a calm manner and waited to receive the questions. I understand. Then, if you would. And thus, the quiz show unseated by Asahi started. Yes, it started, but the quiz was moving forward at such a speed that it didn't take long for them to arrive at the 8th question. Question 8. Does Shokun prefer girls with longer hair or shorter hair? As long as it's a tiny girl, the length of her hair doesn't matter. Correct. Every single answer from Koharu had come out instantly, and all of them were correct. Well, what's with this girl? They're all correct. Until now, Koharu had answered every question out of the 8 correctly. Though the minimum number of correct answers had been decided to be 8, she had already passed the test. Koharu-chan knows more about me than I know about myself, after all. She is a former stalker, after all. She knew close to everything about her target, from easy questions such as his favorite foods to almost unfair questions like the grade he had gotten on a certain test during his first year in high school. She had the answer for everything. Then how many centimeters long is Shokun's dick? Akini, out. That's a total out. She's already answered 8 questions, and you don't even know the answer to that, right? After receiving a red card for that question, the quiz show came to a rather noisy end, with Koharu passing the first test. After finishing their business inside the karaoke bar without singing once, the group was now on their move to the next exam site. My test will take place in here. The destination Yuhi had decided upon was an apparel store designed for girls. There was cute clothing as far as one could see, and a sweet, soothing aroma drifted through the interior. A girl has to be fashionable after all, so Koharu-chan will have a fashion sense competition against me. In a limited amount of time, we will choose a set of clothes here, and the judge will decide upon the winner. But, Yui-san, won't the judge just decide whoever he wants to win then? There's no need to worry. I have this wristband here to measure your heartbeat. How convenient. What Yuhi brought out of her bag was a cardiometer watch that you could put around your arm. I think that making Kei-chan the judge would be the best idea. Me? Not Shoma? How would I stand a chance against a lolly if the judge is a lolicon? Ah, it was a logical reason. You'll show the clothes you choose to Keiki, and the one who makes his heart beat the most will be the winner. I'll do my best. With a time limit of 30 minutes to choose the clothes, the 2 girls started making their way through the shop. Thus began the competition between Koharu and Yuhi. The 2 boys waited in the corner of the shop while Asahi checked out through the assortment. Koharu, for her part, had the serious expression on her face when Yuhi suddenly called out to her. Koharu-chan, can I ask you something? What is it? Have you already had sex with Sho-chan? Sex? Koharu went bright red for a second because of the far too direct question. Hey, Yui-chan, where's your delicacy? Asahi-san. If they're lovers, then of course they do it, right? Koharu fiercely shook her head, screaming, We don't! Sorry about that. Yui-chan is a bit too energetic in that regard. It might not look like it, but I'm pretty open for this sort of thing. I love these things, after all. Love these things? The rather direct coming out made Koharu blush even more intensely. I have a lot of experience, you know. My longest relationship with a man was 3 months, and my shortest was about 3 hours. Short? What in the world happened in those 3 hours? I can't really say that in a loud voice, you know. The intercourse between a man and a woman? That's all? At first I thought he was just a nice guy, so I gave my okay, but it was so unsatisfying. Men can't just be nice, you know. I especially love it when they get more rough. Yui-chan, stop! You can't have Koharu hear the rest of that. So grown up. Though Akiyama Yuhi might look like the docile type, it seems like she could be rather wild at times. Should we really be listening to this girl's talk? I just want to go home already. Also, is Yui-san really like that? Yune is the type of person who falls in love easily. Just be a bit nice to her and it's as good as done. Oh. On the contrary, Asahi is quite the pure type. That's unexpected. The rather pure-looking little sister was the exact opposite, and the wild party animal older sister was refined and pure. After that conversation, the rest of the time passed rather calmly, and they both finished picking out their clothes. All right then, we'll go change our clothes, so wait here, okay? You can look forward to it. Both participants went into their separate changing rooms. Honestly, I'd be fine if I could only look at Koharu-chan. You're way too honest. But even though I know that Keiki loves big breasts, I'm sure that you'll be charmed by Koharu's cuteness. Oi, you flat worshipper, don't just bring up my personal taste in a place like this. Setting aside the breast talk for now, don't you think that the competition will be rather difficult this time around? While the 2 adolescent boys started talking about what every boy their age would, Asahi jumped into the conversation. That's quite obvious. Don't you think that my Koharu-chan will lose against Yune? Shoma asked. I don't mean to brag about my little sister, but her fashion sense is off the charts. It's true that Yui-san has a lot of womanly charm. She's been a model for a magazine before, you know. Ah, really? It's really hard to believe, but it's the truth. Man, what's so great about this hag? She's not much older than us, is she? Since the twins were in their 2nd year of university, they were only about 19 and 20. But before Keiki could respond, the curtains of the changing room were flung open. Mr. Judge, if your preparations are finished, then we can start.
Go ahead.
All right. How's this?
Oh, cute. What Yui had decided upon was a faint blue one piece. Wow, it really is cute. The hem is short enough to show your beautiful legs, and your skin soft as dough, combined with the sexy bra and panties. Wait, I can totally see your underwear. What the girl was wearing was a transparent lingerie-type night dress. It was an outfit worthy of the name Virgin Killer. This is a fight about fashion sense, right?
It is about fashion sense. About night fashion, to be precise. And you say that, Kei-chan, but your eyes are practically glued to me, you know?
Ugh.
I actually wanted Sho-chan to also take a look.
You're just using this as a chance to seduce him, aren't you? The Lolicon veteran was currently playing a puzzle game on his smartphone.
Now then, as for Kei-kun's heartbeat, 110, huh? Not bad,
Asahi declared. Generally, a heart rate of 110 was normal after doing some light sports.
But, Kei-chan can still keep going, right?
Yuhi-san, why are you suddenly clinging to my arm?
Oh, it's up to 150 now.
What do you mean? He had been suddenly grabbed by Yuhi and could feel her soft chest, so he couldn't really be blamed for that reaction, not to mention that he could almost cop a feel directly through this thin lingerie. Because I'm not used to this, Koharu-senpai is in trouble now. And also, doesn't this just count as plain cheating?
I've just used all the assets I have to my advantage, and you clearly became excited for my charms.
Well, of course I did. Yuhi-san is incredibly beautiful, after all.
Being praised so honestly is a bit much.
For some reason, Yuhi-san started fidgeting when she was praised by Keiki.
Sometimes someone younger might not be bad either.
Huh?
No, nothing. Anyway, next it's Koharu-chan's turn.
You're gonna keep wearing those clothes? Well, whatever. Normal words wouldn't get through to a pervert like her. Keiki knew that very well, which is why he instead looked towards the changing room once again. Koharu-san, are you prepared?
Yes, I'm prepared.
I'm good here too. You really are easy to see through, Shoma. Shoma had put away his smartphone and he was energetically lined up next to Keiki, waiting for Koharu-chan's appearance. Finally, when the curtains opened, This? When he saw Koharu, the judge swallowed his breath. A lolly nurse, you say? The creature who stepped out of the changing room looked less like a human and more like a pure white angel. Her body was wrapped in a pink nurse uniform, with a matching nurse cap on her head. The skin of her legs was hidden by stockings, and she even had a small thermometer in her hands. Right here was the perfect depiction of a lolly nurse.
It's time to take your temperature, you know.
Seeing his already cute senpai making such nurse-like mannerisms, Keiki kneeled down on the floor. This is unfair. A crime. Something as cute as this cannot be allowed. Girls with such young looks wearing a nurse uniform like that should be prohibited by law, Keiki thought.
It's crossing the 200 mark. Calm down for a second, Kei-kun.
It seems like Kei-chan is just as much of a lolicon, huh?
No, I like normal bouncy one-sans.
While checking Keiki's heart rate, Asahi let out a concerned voice as Yuhi looked at him with cold eyes. He desperately tried to get rid of these accusations. It's just that I love nurse outfits.
Kei-chan has weird tastes, huh?
Letting out a sigh, Yuhi lowered her gaze. This hurts my pride as well, you know. As for the true lolicon, he hadn't been able to cope with the scenery in front of him and had collapsed on the floor.
This is totally my loss.
Nice fight, Yuhi-chan. But why did you choose those clothes, Koharu-senpai?
I heard from Mizuha-san that many books in your collection have nurses in them.
Mizuha! His beloved little sister was actually spreading information about his private tastes.
You also like bunny girls in school swimsuits, right?
Please let me go already, and to think that they actually had a nurse's outfit here.
Since they're often used by couples doing role plays, they have them in a separate section.
Is this country really going to be okay? Whatever despair Keiki felt, the marriage exam was over. Garnering the painful glares from the store employees, the lingerie Oni-san and the lolly nurse went back into the changing rooms. Maybe because she had taken a liking to it, Yuhi bought the perverted lingerie she had used during the competition and presented the nurse outfit to Koharu. When the five of them left the store, it had already gotten dark outside.
Koharu-chan passed the exam. It's our complete loss. Take care of Shokun, okay?
We're sorry for teasing you like that.
No, I had fun talking with you too. This girl is so nice. Kya? Asahi-san?
When she was suddenly hugged by Asahi, Koharu let out a cute shriek.
All right, we'll be going back now. Koharu-chan, please play with us again sometime, okay? Sho-chan, make sure to bring Koharu home, okay?
I know. The twins waved goodbye as they walked down the road.
So Sho-chan finally got a girlfriend, huh? You especially have always been rather fond of him, right, Asahi-chan? I mean, there's no cooler boy than Shokun out there. Maybe boys really like their girls younger.
Koharu-chan said that she's a third year, though.
She's older than Shokun?
The two of them slowly distanced themselves, but it still took a while until their voices became inaudible. So Asahi-san thought Koharu-senpai was a first year, huh? They might have even thought she was a grade schooler if she wasn't wearing the uniform.
Shoma-kun, show some delicacy, please,
pouted Koharu. Mizuha's waiting at home, so I'll be going now.
Thank you for today, Kiryu-kun.
Not a problem. I'm glad I could be of help. I even got to see a nurse outfit in person, too.
But please just forget about that.
Though she had looked very relaxed while wearing it, it seemed to have been pretty embarrassing for her. She probably had been working hard not to lose Shoma, and Keiki could only admire that in silence. Shoma, you'd better be careful when you take her home. Yeah, I'll make sure that nothing bad happens to her. I'm talking about you. What do you mean?
I'll be careful not to get eaten by the big bad wolf.
Koharu-chan, too? This level of teasing should be allowed after all the trouble they had gone through because of this lolicon boy. Part 4. After separating from Keiki, Shoma took Koharu with him, with her home as their destination. Since Koharu's walking speed was rather slow because of her height, they had all the time in the world to talk. They talked about what had happened that day, the twins, the marriage exam, and about the time when they hadn't met for a while. We're almost there.
Yeah.
They had plenty of time, but they had already arrived in Koharu's neighborhood before Shoma could bring up the main topic. Koharu-chan, can we take a little detour?
A detour?
I want to talk a bit more.
Yes, I don't mind.
With that, Shoma took Koharu to a nearby park. Beneath the moonlight, he turned around to face Koharu.
We're not going to sit down?
It'll be done soon. If you want to sit on my lap, though, you're free to do that.
You're treating me like a kid again. I'm technically still Shoma-kun's One-san.
I know.
Or, would you prefer it if I was younger than you?
Koharu-chan. No matter how childish her looks were, she was still 1 year older than Shoma after all. She still couldn't help but feel anxious knowing that he preferred much younger girls. I'm sorry, Koharu-chan.
You mean for checking out those grade schoolers today in front of the train station?
No, not about that. I'm sorry for making you worry like that. Keiki got mad at me, you know, for making you cry.
Kiryu-kun did.
I thought that if I didn't distance myself from you, you'd get wrapped up in the trouble that my older sisters would bring. But that isn't a good thing to do if I hurt the girl I like.
Shoma-kun, what did you?
Having spoken such heavy words, Shoma became flustered and scratched his cheek. I had a lot of fun, going on dates with you, working together with you at the stall during the summer festival, eating lunch together in the courtyard. I had the time of my life with a girl older than me. To Akiyama Shoma, girls older than him were like enemies. His older sisters had played with him like a toy in his younger days, so he became scarred for life, and that was how he had ended up as a lolicon. However, Otori Koharu was different from his sisters. When he started talking to her, he realized how kind she was, and how she always thought of others, and how much she felt for him. Although she used to stalk him, he couldn't help but think of her as cute, no matter what she did. That point in time marked Shoma's loss. At that point in time, Shoma had fallen in love with her so much that she had made him forget everything about the past and his problems. I feel bad for always keeping you in this weird, vague relationship. That's why I want to make up my mind, right here, right now, to never make you worry again. He spoke the words that he should have spoken a long time ago. Koharu-chan, please go out with me. Koharu took a moment to take that confession in, and...
Yes!
Tears started building up in her eyes as she accepted. Their more than friends but less than lovers relationship ended, and they became a proper couple.
I finally became a couple with Shoma-kun. I'm finally Shoma-kun's girlfriend.
That's what it boils down to.
Then if I grew up just like your older sisters, would you still love me?
Time stopped. To be frank, Koharu's current appearance was the best appearance for a lolicon like Shoma. If he could, he'd wish for her to never grow a millimeter again. However, saying such words would bring great disaster. Not even 3 minutes after his confession had been accepted, said disaster arrived. The only reaction that Shoma could squeeze out was a nod, and... of course.
Shoma-kun, you idiot! The moment he couldn't give an immediate response, this result was written in stone. He had already made the kind-hearted Koharu mad with that. "I'm so incredibly sorry." Realizing his mistake immediately, Shoma quickly bowed down to his girlfriend. "I'm really sorry. I know that I'm the worst." "It's fine. Lolly or not, I'll make you fall head over heels for me so much that it doesn't matter at all anymore for you." Saying that, Koharu tightly clung to Shoma's arm. "I won't let go anymore, okay?" "Ugh, Koharu-chan, that's unfair." The lolicon had to catch his breath from this direct approach. "But if you don't let go, then you can't go home." "I don't care," she said, but her smile spoke different words. After all, her happiness was far greater than her anger. No matter how small her chest was, the feeling inside it was stronger, more intense than anything that anyone could ever fathom. All this time, she had been chasing after her beloved one, but now she could finally walk next to him. While the two of them connected in the park, Keiki had already gone home and was relaxing in his living room. Next to him on the sofa was Mizuha, sipping on a teacup with some milk tea in it. "I'm glad that this misunderstanding was cleared up." "That guy is really nothing but trouble." "You say that, but you still care for him. That's what I like about Nissan." "Mizuha-san, your directness recently is rather unfair." Though he wanted her to stop because he was flustered, there was also a side of him that wanted to hear more. And while the siblings flirted with each other, Keiki's phone vibrated on top of the table. "Ah, it's an email from Shoma." "Nissan?" "Ah, well, I just got this here." "Ah." When Keiki showed Mizuha the screen, she had the exact reaction as him. "The two of us just started going out for real this time." Together with the short message, there was a picture at the bottom. Shoma and Koharu, shoulder to shoulder, smiling as they took a selfie, a photo that perfectly depicted the happy moment of a newborn couple. Chapter 4, Part 1. It was mid-September, and there was nice weather, so it was time for the annual sports festival at Keiki's school. It was a general rule that every student would participate in a sport, and the Keiki Shoma team had suffered a complete loss in their last badminton match, even though they were a perfect combination. Inside the gym hall filled with other students, they watched the other students using their towels to wipe away girls, you see. They're all nothing but perverts that anyone would quickly lose their interest in. It was true that all the girls in the calligraphy club were cute, at first glance, that is. However, on the inside, they were all lost causes. There was a hardcore masochistic female molester, a hardcore sadistic little demon, a BL crazy Fujoshi who couldn't keep her fantasies in check, and an exhibitionist who would attack her older brother completely naked while he was taking a bath. No matter how appealing their looks were, Keiki had trouble seeing them as members of the opposite sex. If only someone else could take over the job of babysitting these perverts. That's pretty much impossible, I think. The only one they really have the hots for is you, Keiki. I really have to do something, and soon. Since he was constantly chased all over the place by them, Keiki had started to feel like an errand boy. It was like he was supposed to come running whenever the girls felt like they needed to let out their pervertedness. It made Keiki wonder if he emitted pheromones that made perverts chase after him. Anyway, since our turn is over now, we have free time until the end. Since we still have some time until lunch, how about we check out the girls' matches? Good idea. Mao-chan is participating in the volleyball category after all. Yeah, rather than watching some sweaty boys here, I'd rather gaze at the cute thighs of the girls, Keiki said. Completely agreed, but it'd be great if there were some less developed girls. You're the only one who would wish for that, Shoma. If you were forced to look at something, you'd choose to look at the beautiful flower instead of the garbage can, right? Thus, the healthy adolescent boys headed over to where the girls were playing. Oh, not bad. Right. Ah, see that spike from Nanjo? She's quite the skilled one. In the volleyball court, the classmate with her standard side tail had just scored a point for her team. Whether it be swimming, drawing, or even volleyball, you could always count on Mao to be proficient enough to not drag you down. And right now, it looked like Mao's team had the upper hand. But that aside, watching the girls' heated battle was really refreshing for Keiki. Their long, slender legs stretching down from their shorts. Their shirts, drenched with sweat that barely made their underwear visible. Their bellies that barely entered his view when they went for a jump. Every part of it would refresh a boy's heart. Girls' gym clothes really are the best. I'm not really happy about them growing up like that, though. True, both teams are full of girls with big breasts. But they surely aren't big enough for the big breast lover Keiki-kun, right? Why are you suddenly joining in on a man-to-man conversation? When Keiki directed his gaze to the voice next to him, he suddenly found Sayuki standing there. Good work, Keiki-kun. Akiyama-kun, too. Same to you, Sayuki-senpai. Thank you, Tokihara-senpai. It was the hardcore masochist Tokihara Sayuki, with her trademark long black hair draped down her back. At first glance, she might look like a proper student, but she was the representative of a pervert-filled calligraphy club. Of course, she was also rocking the gym clothes attire, which perfectly showed off her beautiful legs, not to mention that her unreasonably huge chest bounced in response to every single movement she made. In order to make sure his gaze wasn't glued to them, Keiki looked away while asking a question. "Are you here to watch, senpai?" "Yes, though I originally came here to watch Keiki-kun's game, though." "We lost pretty quickly. Sayuki-senpai was in table tennis, right? How did it go?" "That's totally obvious, isn't it?" The girl puffed out her chest with a boastful smile. "Of course, I lost the very first round." "Why do you sound so proud about that?" Though Keiki didn't know the reason for her confidence, he wouldn't complain about seeing her breast shake like that. "Anyway, thanks for the meal." About what?" "It was the best." Again, what was? Despite the fact that she had the best breasts out there, the girl had sadly lost in the first round of her solo match, it seems. "Sayuki-senpai, weren't there a lot of people watching your match?" "Now that you mention it, there were a lot of boys whose eyes were sparkling during my match." "It figures." If you thought about her size, it was no wonder all the adolescent boys' gazes were glued to her. The only one who could look away from that was the lolicon standing next to them. "Nanjo-san is really amazing. She's our class ace, after all." It really feels like their plays are all centered around Mao-chan. Mao had good reflexes and good jumping strength, not to mention that her spikes seem rather powerful for a fragile-looking girl like her. Ah, she noticed us. After finishing yet another spike, Mao met the gazes of Keiki's group and made a V sign with her hands, a big smile on her face. It was almost like you could hear her say, "I'm amazing, right?" "Nanjo's really cute when she acts like this." Though Keiki decided to keep the fact that her smile made his heart skip a beat a secret. They kept watching the game like this when suddenly Keiki's world turned black. What happened?" "Who am I?" "That voice is Fujimoto-san?" "Correct." His vision returned, and upon turning himself around, he found a female student with one eye hidden behind her bangs. It was the student council vice president, as well as Keiki's classmate, Fujimoto Ayano. Just like every other girl, she also wore the short-sleeved shirt and gym shorts, which emphasized her chest very well. Though she's not necessarily big, this is still wonderful in its own right. While Keiki was earnestly nodding to himself, Sayuki glared at Ayano with a displeased expression. "Fujimoto-san, can you not meddle with Keiki-kun like that?" "I decline. For Ayano-san, Kiryu-kun is an irreplaceable existence." As soon as Sayuki and Ayano met, sparks started flying immediately, as always. "What a sinful man you are, Keiki, tangled up in both of these beauties here. You know perfectly well what's happening here." Even so, Shoma still enjoyed teasing Keiki. Normally, this would be a dreamlike situation for a boy of Keiki's age, but that would only be the case if these girls were normal, and sadly, the girls here were abnormal. Sayuki was a hardcore masochist, while Ayano, on the other hand, was, the strong smell of sweat after Kiryu-kun's matches, a smell fetishist known as an olfactophile, specifically a girl who was aroused by a male's body odor, and of course, this perverted vice president had taken a liking to none other than Keiki's odor. She constantly begged him to give his used underwear to her that she could sniff it. I really want to cling to you right now, but we're in front of other people." So even Fujimoto-san knows how to hold back in a place like this, huh? Additionally, Shoma and Sayuki were watching, and she probably didn't want them to find out about her fetish. I don't particularly mind even if we're in front of other people, you know. Look." "Sayuki-senpai! Sayuki-senpai! My arm is wrapped right in the valley of your chest, you know." Keiki let out a rather girly shriek when Sayuki clung to his right arm like that. So unfair! Me too!" "Fujimoto-san too?" Now Ayano also joined in on the fun, clinging to Keiki's left arm, letting him almost directly cop a feel of her mid-sized but still wonderful chest. "Oh my, a flower in both hands, I see. You're totally enjoying this, aren't you? Don't say that, help me out already." "I'ma hold off on that. I don't want to be inconvenienced by their rage, after all." You traitor!" His trusted friend let out a grin and offered no helping hand. Even though they were back in the corner of the gym hall, they still garnered the attention of people around them. Of course, Keiki felt rather embarrassed in such a scenario. Would the two of you be so kind as to let go of me?" "If Fujimoto-san lets go first, then so will I." "If Tokihara-senpai lets go first, I'm fine with letting go too." "How old are you girls again?" However, his response was ignored, and the girls continued to glare at each other. His saving grace turned out to be a single female student who passed by them. Kiryu-senpai, what are you doing? Nagase-san? It was Airi Nagase, her beige twin tails fluttering as she walked towards them. Naturally, she was also wearing a gym short and shorts, and she threw a cold gaze at Keiki, who was still being surrounded by Sayuki and Ayano. A flower in both hands, or whatever they call it. This is why men are so... No, the two of them are just doing this on their own. I wonder about that. Aren't you just exploiting their weaknesses and forcing them to do this? Really? That would be so wonderful, Sayuki cheered. Sayuki-senpai, please keep quiet for a moment. If this hardcore masochist continued spitting nonsense like this, then the situation would only get worse. So you haven't stopped with the calligraphy club members, and you've also jammed your poisonous fangs into Ayano-senpai. You really are a playboy. I keep telling you that you have the wrong idea. Shut up. Don't get any closer to me. I'll get pregnant, Airi said, stepping back even further from the group. Let's go, Ayano-senpai. But I'm not... Just come with me. You're being deceived by him, and I will save you. Airi-chan. Grabbing Ayano's hand, Airi forcefully pulled her along, away from her self-proclaimed enemy. I won't give Ayano-senpai to you, okay? Sticking on her tongue, Airi left the gym hall together with Ayano. I'm really being hated here. She was really mad, yeah. Did you do something to her? She seems to think that I'm some playboy who's trying to build a harem with the calligraphy club members or something. Though Keiki knew that Airi wasn't a bad girl per se, she certainly never showed him her best side. That's probably a big problem, but shouldn't you worry about the problem at hand instead? The one at hand? In response to Shoma's remark, Keiki looked up only to meet Sayuki's gaze. Ah. Hey, Keiki-kun, who was that Twin Tails girl just now? It's not just the other girls in the calligraphy club and Fujimoto-san. You've suddenly gotten yourself another girl? I had no intention of that. After that, Keiki suffered from a storm of questions from Sayuki. Time passed until 1 p.m., and Keiki was still wearing a jersey while strolling through the school building. During these times, walking around the school was the best. The school recommended you to self-study if your match was over, but very few of the students actually listened to that. Most of them cheered for their friends, chatted with their friends, or played games on consoles they had smuggled in. Keiki himself had enjoyed a relaxing lunch with Shoma and Koharu in the astronomy club room, but he felt bad for being the third wheel who was interrupting their private time, so he separated himself. And to be fair, the rosy couple atmosphere would have been too much for him, since his dearest wish was to get a girlfriend himself. As a side note, Sayuki was currently taking a nap inside the calligraphy club room. After she had questioned him about every single detail concerning Airi, she gave a short, I'm going to take a nap in the club room until the sports festival is over. And that was the last he had seen of her. She apparently had been watching the TV drama until late last night and was tired as a result. Maybe I should take a short nap in the club room too. Since his matches were over, he had all the time in the world, but when he found himself walking towards said club room, he realized that the door of the small library room next to the committee room wasn't closed. Was the library supposed to be open today? Thinking that something was off, he entered the room. Bookshelves were lined up next to each other, and he couldn't make out a single person inside this calm atmosphere, but when he moved deeper out of pure curiosity, he spotted a familiar girl sitting on a table next to the window. It's Yuika-chan. The window was open, and the soft breeze made her blonde shoulder-length hair flutter as she read a book. Of course, she was wearing the gym outfit like every other girl he had encountered that day. Since she was a quarter Western, her skin was surprisingly white. This included her legs, which reached down from her shorts, and her slender, almost radiant arms that were softly holding the book in her hands. Although the bulge around her chest region was modest, it had its own unique kind of charm. Just when Keiki was about to call out to his kohai, she heard his footsteps and looked up at him. Keiki-senpai, did you beat the bad dragon already? You're mixing up fantasy and reality, Yuika-chan. Come back already. Oh, you're right. Yuika closed the book in her hands. So why is senpai here? What about your game? We lost the second round, though Nanjo and the other girls from my class moved on to one round, it seems. Is that so? Yuika played table tennis, but she also lost in her first round. Since she had time until the end of the sports festival, she got the librarian to open up this place. The librarian to the small library was, even among the other teachers, quite an old man, but he was also known to be very kind, so it wasn't a surprise that he had allowed Yuika in here. If you really had the time, then you could have just talked to someone from your class. Yuika doesn't have any friends. Then how about we use this chance to make you some friends? Books are Yuika's friends. Your friends are pretty quiet, I see. Since persuading her would be impossible, judging from her disinterested reply, Keiki quickly gave up and sat down next to her. He looked at the book she had in her hands before. What are you reading today? Kya! Don't just sit suddenly next to Yuika like that! What's with that reaction? That really hurts, you know. Don't get the wrong idea. Yuika also had to play in a match, so she's a bit embarrassed because of the sweaty smell. Really? I think you smell pretty good, though. When he sniffed her, the Kohai's face went red as an apple. Hey, what are you? Please refrain from suddenly sniffing Yuika like that. When he heard that shriek, Keiki consciously ignored the fact that it somehow didn't feel too bad he had forced her out of her. But these normal, girly reactions were cute after all. For crying out loud, is sexually harassing Yuika part of your deperversion plan? Not today. Since I'm not making any progress in regards to that, I'm currently rethinking the plan. Why are you so obsessed with rehabilitating Yuika and the others? Well, that's... So you can't tell Yuika the reason. There's probably some indecent motivation behind it. There's not, okay? I only have pure intentions. Uh-huh? Then how about you tell Yuika about those? What kind of inductive questioning is this? Well, it's that, you know... In the end, he lay bare the reason why he wanted to rehabilitate everyone. About how the girls approaching him had been a bit too straining on his physical and mental endurance, about his dream to experience normal love, and so on. When he finished explaining the circumstances, Yuika's gaze was filled with disdain as she looked at her upperclassmen. So it really is indecent. Wanting to be lovey-dovey with a cute girlfriend is as pure as it gets. So Keiki-senpai thinks that, unless he corrects Yuika and the others, that he won't be able to get a girlfriend. But it doesn't look like you're giving up that easily, right, Yuika-chan? Well, that's true, nodded the little devil. But is there even a girl who piques your interest outside of the calligraphy club? Not really, but she might appear in the future. How nice that would be, indeed. Stop it with that gaze like an affectionate mother towards her incompetent son. Well, the chances of a girl falling in love with a boring boy like me would require a miracle. Even I know that. He really wished that he could find someone who had similar affection for him like Mizuha, but while he was drowning in negative thoughts like that, he realized that Yuika's green gemstone-like eyes were looking at him, like she was staring deep into his soul. Hey, Keiki-senpai. What is it? Keiki-senpai wants to get a girlfriend, right? Yuika would be fine with becoming your girlfriend, you know. Yuika is saying that Keiki-senpai can become her boyfriend. Well, a boyfriend and a slave at the same time. So the boyfriend is just a way to cover up being a slave? Keiki had been very close to being deceived. Becoming her boyfriend would only end up with him becoming a slave with a different name. A bleak future indeed. But Yuika thinks this wouldn't be so bad of a deal, you know? What do you mean? Yuika is saying that there are merits for Keiki-senpai. If senpai were to become her slave, she would also treat you like a normal boyfriend. Isn't that basically just being lovers with no romance at all? Don't you think that romantic relationships are almost identical to that? We both sacrifice something in order to get something in return. Isn't that a bit absurd? Absurdity and righteousness can bring forth the same result. Since she said it with so much confidence, Keiki couldn't help but wonder if she was actually right. Of course, if we really were to accept this compliance, Yuika would also take responsibility as a girlfriend, you know. If my boyfriend were to feel under the weather, she would gladly give him a reward to cheer him up. A reward? That's, well, many things. Yuika could give you a hug, a lap pillow, a kiss, and even further? If you say further than a kiss, then you mean there can only be one thing. Seriously? A young maiden doesn't go back on her word. With a bright red face, Yuika continued trying to hide her embarrassment. For Yuika, it's a master-slave relationship. For senpai, it's a lover's relationship. If you're interested, we can try it out, you know? It's way more efficient than trying to rehabilitate all the girls from the calligraphy club, don't you think? Truth be told, if Keiki were to accept here, he would be able to get a cute girlfriend like Yuika. It would also be a way to finally break the curse of being without a girlfriend for his entire life. Not to mention that the person in question was fine with hugging, kissing, and even what went beyond that. Any normal adolescent boy would immediately take the bait. Sorry, but I have to pass. For me, that would be like paying money for a rental girlfriend, and I don't want that. What Keiki wanted to experience was a normal love. At the very least, becoming a slave in order to receive a girlfriend wasn't what he wished for. Yuika-chan, you should really only say that to the person you like, you know. Do you think that Yuika said that with such shallow feelings? Saying that, Yuika brought her body closer. Yuika-chan? Yuika isn't just fine with anyone, you know. Do you want her to prove it? Her small porcelain-like hand softly touched Keiki's chest. And she didn't say any more than that. Wordlessly, she brought her lips closer. Their already short distance now drew closer to zero. Her breath, body temperature, heartbeat, Keiki felt like he could feel all of it directly on his body, and all the while his heart raced faster and faster. And when the two of them were about to kiss, they noticed a certain spectator sitting on top of the table. Huh? A cat? Since when had she been there? She had black fur and was lounging as if this place belonged to her. Well, why is a cat on the school grounds? Maybe she's lost? She even has something in her mouth. To be precise, it was a handkerchief with a water droplet pattern on it. When Keiki reached out with his hand, the cat quickly evaded him and jumped down from the table. And as if it were the most natural thing in the world, she trotted out of the room. There she goes. Now she's gone, yes? The sweet atmosphere from before had completely been ruined thanks to the cat, and now there was nothing left but pure awkwardness. I'll be going now. Yes, Yuika also wanted to get back to reading. Keiki jumped up, and Yuika reopened her book. Just before he stepped out of the room, he once more turned around and found himself making eye contact with the girl. In response, she became flustered and hid her mouth with the book in her hands, an action so cute it almost made Keiki's heart skip a beat. Leaving the small library behind him, he felt the need to cool down his flushed cheeks, so he found himself silently gazing down at the courtyard from his first floor hallway. Everyone's approaches have really gotten more aggressive, haven't they? The reason for that was probably because they had noticed Mizuha's romantic affection for her older brother. They probably planned to make Keiki their slave or master or whatever before the siblings' relationship progressed too far. Yuika-chan seems pretty serious. An almost kiss had happened before, but back then it felt like more as a joke. So it didn't get his heart pumping as much as it did now, but today her expression clearly indicated that her feelings were serious. It seemed like just as much as Keiki wanted to experience normal love, she wanted to make Keiki her slave. No matter how serious she is, becoming a slave is totally not going to happen. But what if? What if there came a time when she would just want to be Keiki's lover? What would be his answer then? Even though this was just a what-if scenario, a possibility with low potential of becoming reality, this one question wouldn't leave Keiki's thoughts. Isn't that Nagase-san over there? Still spacing out while looking out the window, he spotted a familiar girl, her twin tails bobbing around as she walked through the courtyard. She was still wearing a gym shirt and shorts combo, and she looked around her surroundings, seeming nervous about something. What's she doing? Wait, isn't that pretty dangerous? Since she was walking around restlessly while walking forward, she didn't realize a male student walking directly towards her. The boy didn't notice her either, apparently. In the end, Keiki could only yell out, "Careful!" from the window and watch as they smacked into each other. Huh? Ugh! The boy managed to keep his balance by taking a small step backwards, but Irie, with her small stature, fell backwards onto her butt. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking in front of me. No, I'm fine. Are you hurt anywhere? Should I take you to the nurse's office? No, there's no need for that. When the boy stretched out his hand with the intention of helping her up, Irie ignored it and answered it with a rather displeased tone as she got up and walked away. What's with that girl? I just wanted to help. The boy also resumed his walk, and now only Irie was left in the courtyard. Well, yeah, she definitely could have phrased that better. He had to agree with the boy. But setting that aside for now, doesn't Nagase-san look a bit unsteady on her feet? Her manner of walking looked weird to Keiki, and at one point she even kneeled down and held her right ankle. Keiki thought he could have even seen tears building up in her eyes. She had probably hurt herself in the collision just now. Really, what is that girl doing? He certainly couldn't leave her alone like that, so he made his way down outside the building and called out to her. You could have just told him that you couldn't walk anymore. Sheesh. What? Kiryu-senpai? When she recognized the person who called out to her, Irie hurriedly wiped away her tears. She probably didn't want to be seen like that. You hurt your leg, right? I didn't. Why are you always like this? Here, just keep quiet and let me do the rest. What? Before she even realized what was happening, her body was lifted up and she let out a cute shriek. Soon enough, though, she realized the boy was holding her in a princess carry position, which resulted in her face turning completely red from embarrassment. Hey, what are you doing? What am I doing? I'm taking you to the nurse's office, of course. Let me down. I will go there by myself. You were crying before because you can't, right? Ugh. With her escape route sealed off, the princess growled. Nagase-san, you can't just take something like this so lightly. There are stories of people who didn't think much of their injury when they fell down, only for them to find out later they had a broken leg from it. In the worst case, the blood can't run through the leg normally anymore. In the worst case... In the worst case? The leg would have to be cut off. Cut off? Possibly from imagining this happening, Irie's eyes started to get teary again. I don't want that. All righto, then let's go to the nurse's office. Keiki somehow managed to convince her with that made-up story, and this time there was no resistance at all. Really, if you're gonna cry about it, then ask for help from the very beginning. While thinking that, he carried the new docile Irie to their new destination. Good for you, it was just a sprain. Yes, I'm really glad. Keiki sat with a smile sitting on a nearby chair, and Irie answered with hurt feelings as she rested on the bed. The result of the diagnosis was that Irie's leg had suffered a light sprain, and the nurse had immediately left as soon as she had treated her. She probably had to be in the gym hall the entire time since the sports festival was still ongoing. Thanks to that, they had the nurse's office all to themselves. Although he knew that she probably wasn't comfortable being together with the boy she thought was a playboy, Keiki felt like asking something that had piqued his interest before. I saw you in the courtyard when you fell. Why didn't you just honestly ask for help? If you did, then I wouldn't have had to princess carry you like that. I don't want to owe boys anything. Is that because you hate boys, Nagase-san? That's... Keiki had heard from Iona that Irie had negative feelings towards men. That's not entirely true. Rather than hate, it's fear. Fear? She probably didn't want to discuss the topic any further. She was tightly gripping her own hand on her lap and forcefully pressing her mouth shut. Well, Nagase-san might have her own circumstances, but acting like that towards a boy who only wanted to help wasn't a good thing to do. I know that already. I'm trying to fix that part of myself. Alright, then that's enough of that. I have another thing I want to ask you about. What is it this time? What were you doing in the courtyard? You look like you were panicking quite a bit. Keiki thought that it must have been something rather important for her to be rushing around like that. She started crying once more. For Keiki, that was too much of a surprise attack. Why are you crying? Does your leg still hurt? No, it's not that, but I don't know what to do anymore. What happened? Just when Keiki thought that something traumatic must have happened to her. A cat. A cat? A cat stole my panties. Excuse me? Did Keiki simply mishear? Because he heard a rather ridiculous word coming out of her mouth. What was stolen again? He asked for confirmation just to make sure, which made Irie's face turn so red that it almost went up in flames. My panties! A cat came by and just stole them! How does that even happen? Well, still teary-eyed, Irie started explaining what had happened. She had taken part in the sports festival like everyone else, and since she had gotten sweaty, she had decided to change her underwear in the dressing room. In that moment, a cat had invaded the room and stolen her freshly worn panties. So I chased after her, but I lost in the end. So a stray cat stole your panties. Don't say it again! Did that cat have black fur by any chance? Yes, that's correct. Then I saw it as well. Really? I thought it had something in its mouth, but I didn't think that those were Nagisa-san's panties. Just to make sure, your panties were white with a blue water droplet pattern on it, right? Yes, that's right. Now there was no mistake. The panty thief really was the cat he had seen when he was with Yuika. It's not like they were expensive or anything, and they don't have any emotional value for me, but having my underwear seen by boys is... Tears once more started forming in Irie's eyes, and Keiki could understand that this was a dire situation for a girl her age. I get it. You wait here, Nagisa-san. I'll bring back your panties. No, this is my duty. I will do something about it. What, you're gonna chase a cat with that leg of yours? Irie's face fell down to her leg. Though it wasn't anything serious, chasing a cat in her condition would definitely be impossible. But you would probably hate it if I were to touch your underwear, right? I'm not thinking about that. It's just that I've said so many horrible things to you, so I have no right to ask for your help. Nagisa Irie's personality was indeed very earnest. She probably couldn't bring herself to shamelessly ask Keiki for help after everything she had thrown at him until now. That was why Keiki just had to give her an escape route that she could rely on. You don't have to worry about that. I have my own motives. What motives? I'm a man whore that loves girls too much, you know? If I help you, I might be able to use this to make you a member of my harem. You never know, right? Keiki's words were practically self-destructive, and they left Irie speechless. Of course, that was only an excuse to make Irie feel better about asking him for help. What's up with that? Are you an idiot? Even Irie had to hold back a giggle when she heard that idiotic excuse. But thank you very much. It really saves me. If only you always smiled honestly like that, you would be cute. It's none of your business! Keiki's new mission for the day was to find the stray cat that had stolen the panties of Nagisa Irie. This feels like a pretty difficult mission, doesn't it? His cheeky kohai had asked him for help for the first time ever. In order to not let her down, he swore that he would definitely succeed the missions he entrusted to him. Ah, shit, I lost her. On the second floor of the school building, he lost sight of the thief. Honestly, I totally underestimated this cat. In the end, it had turned into a difficult game of tag. Where did she go? As long as she was still on school grounds, he had a chance to catch her. However, if she managed to escape, that would be the end. Worst case scenario, she would bring Irie's panties out into the public streets for everyone to see. I have to prevent that at all costs. Gaining newfound motivation, he once more ran through the school building. Hey you, no running in the hallways! Sorry, he heard a voice from behind and reflexively stopped in his tracks. You've been tricked, my dear. Eh? Oh, Nanjo. When he turned around, he was greeted by Mao, wearing her jersey top draped across her shoulders. Can you stop with the pranks, and what about your volleyball matches? Well, we made it to the semifinals, but we lost right near the end. Though it felt good doing some intense sports like that after such a long break. Even though her face normally wore a displeased expression, she now seemed in rather high spirits. You seem to be in a good mood today, Nanjo. Ah, is it that obvious? Just a while ago, I finally finished working on my shoujo manga. The release day is pretty close. Ah, so that's why you're so cheerful. Doujinshi are one thing, but seeing a work of your own being lined up on the bookshelves is something I very much look forward to. So she had finally finished her work on the shoujo manga she had been working on throughout summer vacation. It had made sense she would be this hyped. So what about you, Kiryu? Why are you in such a panic? I'm actually looking for a cat. Did you see her strolling around, Nanjo? Nope. Oh, we have a cat walking around on our school grounds? Yeah, she somehow got lost and made her way in here, I think, and she even ended up stealing something. Of course, saying that this something was actually a girl's panties was rather difficult, so he admitted that part. So that's why, huh? Was the cat wearing a collar? No, I don't think so. Then it's probably a stray cat. Don't they tend to avoid crowded places? Ah, I see. Since the sports festival was ongoing, students and the teachers were walking all over the place. Most of the students should be in the gym hall or classrooms right now. A place without people would be the clubroom building or the special classrooms. That would be a good start. I'll go look there immediately. I'd help you out, but I was asked to be the judge for the next match. It's fine, you helped me plenty already. Thanks. After separating from Mao, he moved towards the special classrooms building. Since the clubroom building was farther away, he decided to check out the special classrooms buildings in first, in hopes the cats went there. Just as expected, nobody's here. The music room, the art room, and even the audio-visual rooms were all empty. These definitely are perfect for the cat to hide in. Ah, there she is! In the back of the hallway, he spotted a small creature. She was still holding Irie's panties in her mouth, and she had probably recognized Keiki as an enemy since he had been chasing her, because she ran away immediately as their eyes met. I won't let you get away this time! Chasing after the cat, whose speed seemed to rival that of a bullet, Keiki dashed down the stairs to the first floor. Remembering his promise to Irie and his own wish to not let her suffer from embarrassment, he ran. As fast as his legs could carry him, he ran. But I can't believe I lost her again! The cat's dexterity level was easily 1 or 2 levels higher than Keiki's. Why is the cat even running around with panties like that? Why couldn't she just let go of them? Did she want to take them home because they could keep her warm in the cold weather? While thinking about the reasoning behind the theft of the panties, Keiki walked down the hallway when... Mizuha? Looking out of the window by pure coincidence, he spotted his lovable little sister in the same courtyard where he had seen Irie before. Wearing gym attire like everyone else that day, she was standing in the shadow of a tree, looking up into the branches. Since Keiki found this to be rather weird behavior, he decided to go out to meet her, and so he made his way out to the courtyard. Mizuha, what are you doing here? Ah, Nissan, here. Mizuha once more looked up in the tree and pointed. A cat. She's stuck in the tree, I think. She was up in the tree, still tightly holding onto the panties. The black cat was looking straight down at them. To think I would meet her here. How lucky for Keiki that the cat had finally reached a dead end. Why do cats always climb up in these high places? That's just what they're used to, I think. By the way, do you think you can reach her if I carry you on my shoulders, Mizuha? I don't think I could reach her. It figures. She's pretty high up after all. I guess I'll have to climb the tree myself. The way up looked pretty difficult, but he still had to save the cat, as well as get back Irie's panties. Making up his mind, Keiki put his hands on the tree trunk and slowly worked his way upwards. Oh, this might actually be doable. Nissan, be careful, okay? Of course, your Nissan's going to work hard there. As his little sister cheered him on, he moved further up the tree. Since he risked scaring off the cat if he made any sudden movements, it took him a bit longer, but he still safely arrived at the cat's location. Looking up from below, it didn't look that high, but it was a whole different story from up here. Luckily, the branch he was hanging onto was thick enough to withstand his weight. Please stay calm, okay? He slowly stretched out his hand to pick up the cat, and succeeded. All right, capture complete! Nissan, amazing! Mizuha clapped while looking up at him. Though he felt like a hero with all that, he didn't have time to relax right now. Ow! Hey, stop that! Don't scratch me like that! Having become agitated because of the sudden movement, the cat pulled out her claws. The moment the ungrateful beast attacked her savior, those panties fell from her mouth, softly fluttering through the air. Oh, that's not good! A soft breeze blew past them, and there was now the risk that the panties would be carried away to a different world. But letting the cat go to reach for them wasn't an option either. If he were to let the panties get carried away now, they might end up in a random boy's hands, resulting in the worst possible ending. That certainly wouldn't help Irie overcome her trauma she apparently had. And his decision was made in a single moment. In order to protect his Kohai smile, Keiki stretched out his neck and, like a dog catching a frisbee with his mouth, he bit down on the panties to secure them from flying away. Now he had fulfilled his job, all while protecting the thief in his hands. Get my Kohai's panties back. Mission successful. So that he wouldn't carelessly let go of the panties in his mouth, he mentally cheered for himself. One-san? Ah, he had completely forgotten that his little sister had been watching from start to finish. What else could you call a boy with a cat in both of his hands and a girl's panties in his mouth other than pervert? Wordlessly, he put the cat in his jersey, the panties in his pocket, and climbed down from the tree. Once he came down, he freed the cat from his grip, only for her to run away immediately. After a short silence, Mizuha was the first to drop the bomb. That time when my Nissan was a panty thief. It's a groundless charge, I say. If you really wanted panties that badly, you could have just told me. I'd give you as many of mine as you wanted. I'd even be willing to take the ones I'm wearing off right now. Please refrain from doing that, my dear little sister. He quickly stopped the exhibitionist, who already had her hands on her shorts. Even after explaining the circumstances to his little sister, it took around 10 minutes for her to believe him. Though he had gone through a lot of hardships during his mission, his goal was accomplished, so Keiki made his way back to the nurse's office. I'm back! Ah, welcome back. Wait, Kiryu-senpai, what happened to you? Your clothes are so dirty. Ah, I was climbing a tree just now, you see. Why would you do that? Ignoring the suspicious Irie, Keiki took out the girl's panties from his pocket. Here, I brought back your panties. Thank you very much. Irie timidly accepted her panties. After looking at them in her hands for a short while, she directed her gaze back to Keiki. You didn't sniff them, right? I thought you might ask that. I really didn't. Keiki had no interest whatsoever in that sort of thing. At first I thought those were raindrops on your panties, but they were actually illustrations of fish. That's probably why the cat stole them. So my panties look like a feast to the cat? I think that's a cute design, though. Are you saying that they look childish? I never said that. Normally I wear more grown-up ones, okay? Was that coming out really necessary? In order to protect his Kohai's pride, Keiki decided not to mention that he thought they looked a bit childish. Just when Keiki thought that everything was done, Irie let out a shriek after she finished stuffing her panties into her pocket. Kiryu-senpai, your hand! Hand? The cat just scratched me when I caught her. There's still blood coming from the wound. We have to disinfect it immediately. Something of this level is no big deal. No can do. If you don't want your hand to get cut off, you better sit down right now. Since he didn't want to lose his hand because of something as trivial as this, he obediently listened to Irie's order. She quickly prepared the disinfectant and gauze and sat down in the chair next to the bed. Okay, give me your hand. Don't make it hurt, okay? Don't say something disgusting like that. Of course it will hurt. Harsh words leaked out of her mouth, but her movements as she bandaged Keiki's hands were calm and kind. I'm happy to get treated like this, but are you okay, Nagase-san? You said that you were afraid of men, after all. I was trying not to be too conscious of it, so why did you have to bring it up? Because I don't want to force you. I'm not forcing myself. It's not like I have a phobia against men. Then that's fine. However, it's true that I'm a bit tense right now, so how about we talk about the past? The past? It's not that important of a story, though. Disinfecting the open wound with the gauze, Irie started her story. When I was in grade school, there was a classmate of mine who was called Matsushita-kun. He was a very earnest person. He was good at his studies, he was good at sports, and he was kind to everyone, which made him quite popular. I think that every class has such a Superman. Yes, but every girl in this class was being deceived by him. It happened during the summer of my 4th year. After the classes ended, I was about to leave for home when I realized I'd forgotten something in the classroom, so I headed back. And then... Inside that empty classroom, Matsushita-kun was enthusiastically licking the mouthpiece of my flute. The turn of events was even worse than Keiki had imagined. Of course, I told the teachers about it, and they scolded him. Because of that, the girls in the class even kept their distance from him for a while. Well, I can see why. Oh, before you ask, I threw away my old mouthpiece and bought a new one. So you threw it away. But the scene I saw back there turned into trauma, and that's why I try my best to keep distance from boys. So even something like that could be traumatic. Irie probably was the target back then because she was simply cute. Or maybe the boy had romantic feelings for her, and he couldn't hold back his desire. Whatever the case, it certainly wouldn't help Irie right now, even if she knew why. And that's how it's been until now. That's why I keep thinking that boys are scary. Their bodies are tall, strong, and you never know what they might think. I started feeling like they were different living creatures for me. They're so foreign that they're almost aliens. So your sense of distance is like the furthest galaxies. They even bring perverted books into the classroom like it's nothing. I don't understand them. Well, I think that's pretty different for everyone. Truthfully, boys are different from girls. Even something like that could be intolerable for Irie. But if it's Kiryu-senpai, then he might just be a tiny bit different. Huh? Unconsciously lifting up his head, he saw that Irie's cheeks had a faint red tint as she quickly lowered her gaze. The atmosphere suddenly grew awkward and Irie continued her work while both of them remained silent. Alright, this should be fine. Now we don't have to cut it off. I wasn't worried about that in the first place, but still, thank you. I should be the one to thank you. Thank you very much for bringing my panties back. Softly holding Keiki's hand, Irie showed a bright smile. That honest smile became Keiki's reward, and he engraved it into his memories. It's already 2:30? I have to prepare for the closing ceremony. Irie started panicking when she saw the clock inside the nurse's office. However, she seemed to have forgotten about her right ankle. Because of that, in the moment she went to get up, she immediately lost her balance. Kya? Be careful. Seeing that she was about to fall backwards, Keiki quickly grabbed her hand and tried supporting her with his own body, but instead they collapsed into the bed next to him. This bed really saved us, didn't it? Right now, they were in a position that looked like Keiki was pushing his kohai down on the bed. Nagisa-san, are you okay? What a blunder. Kiryu-kun's right hand here also happened to land dead center on the collapsed Nagisa-san's breast. Even though he had just been thanked for helping his kohai retrieve her panties, what a difference between the before and after. Weak groans escaped from the girl's mouth and arrived at Keiki's ears. They were followed by big round tears that started forming in her eyes. Did you know? Building up trust is really difficult, and all of that effort can be rendered for naught because of one simple blunder. Both the aggressor and the victim let out a girly shriek. Why did the aggressor let out a shriek, you ask? That was because Irie's knee landed a clean hit on Keiki's crotch. To every man reading this, you can very well imagine the pain that the poor boy experienced. As always, the rom-com protagonist had to suffer from a sudden circumstance, and for a short while, Keiki wasn't able to move his body. The following day after classes, Keiki made his way through the hallway connected to the clubroom building. Just when I finally had the chance to make up with Nagase-san. It had all gone perfectly the moment when he had returned her panties. Her gaze softened, and so did the way she spoke to him. Though it wasn't on the level of friendship, they were able to hold a normal senpai-kohai conversation. But that was nothing more than a short-lived miracle. Immediately afterwards, that progress had been negated by the goddess of fortune, or in this case, misfortune. After Keiki hit a critical hit to his crotch, Irie stormed out of the nurse's office, without him leaving a single chance to apologize. Taking her fear of men into account, any hope for repairing the relationship was probably impossible. What happened to you to make you sigh like that? Huh? Nagase-san? Yes, that's me. Turning around to find the source of the voice, he found Irie wearing her normal uniform. Because he had never expected a development like this, Keiki was naturally taken aback. Kiryu-senpai is always sighing like that. You do know that every time you sigh, you lose a certain amount of happiness, right? Well, aren't you mad about yesterday? I know that what happened yesterday was nothing more than an accident, and I hurt you like that. Does that place still hurt? It still hurts like hell. Anyway, I'm not mad anymore. Though it's true that I was really embarrassed, we split the pain evenly this time. I received damage to the mind while you received damage to the body. Well, okay. Though Keiki still felt like complaining about his damage was far greater, doing so would probably earn himself a slap on the cheek, so he swallowed his words. And also, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about. What is it? Please tell me your email address, Kiryu-senpai. My pleasure. Wait, my email address? Why? Don't get the wrong idea, okay? It's not like I want to get closer to you or anything. I just have to tell you the details for your penalty, that's all. I won't get the wrong idea anymore after that. Wait, what penalty? Basically, I want you to help out with the work for the student council. It's your punishment for playing with a maiden's heart. I wasn't playing with anything, and didn't we just say that we would split the pain? This and that are different. Earlier, you started patting my head against my will, right? That also happened. Before the sports festival, he did indeed pat her head without receiving permission first, although Keiki totally thought she would have forgotten about that by now. I told you back then that I would discipline you, right? I'm the type of person who holds true to my word, so you better be prepared to work hard. Well, if that's just it, then I don't mind. After that, they exchanged email addresses, but Keiki was fairly certain that the smile he saw on Irie's face must have been a misunderstanding on his part. Part 2. On Monday morning of the next week, Keiki was sitting on his desk at school when Shoma suddenly appeared from behind him. "Morning, Keiki. Look at this picture. It's from my date with Koharu yesterday." "So you're already bragging this early again?" Shown on Shoma's smartphone screen was a picture of him with Koharu eating ice cream. "Koharu-chan is so small and cute." "Yeah, I doubt you'd find another high school girl her size around here." Of course, Keiki agreed that Koharu was really cute, but he certainly wasn't as energetic as the lolicon Ikemen next to him. "And also, would you stop clinging to me like that? If you keep that up, Namjo's going to go crazy with her fantasies again." "Now that you say it, Mao-chan has been pretty late today. The chime will ring pretty soon." "Ah, now that you mention it, she's always been 5 minutes earlier than the chime." Though she might look like a gyaru, the rather serious Mao would always make sure to not be late for class. Normally she would have arrived already and would be sitting next to Keiki. What's with her? And the chime rang without the brownish red-haired classmate arriving. In the end, she never came to school that day. At first, Keiki thought she had just gotten a cold, but she didn't come to school the following day, nor the day after that.
Chapter 5, Part 1. Once the 4th period of classes ended, rather than taking out his lunch, Keiki went to check to see if he had gotten any new emails. No replies, huh? The same result as all the times he had checked before. He had sent an email to a certain individual and was still waiting for the response. He locked his screen and jammed his phone back into his pocket with frustration, and his friend Shoma came walking towards him, also holding his smartphone in his hands. "Have you gotten a reply?" "Nope. What about you, Shoma?" "Same here. What's happened with Mao-chan?" This makes it the 4th day. In this current week, Mao had not been to school once. Today was already Thursday, and it was her 4th consecutive absence from school. Namjo skipping school like this has never happened before. The teacher said that she wasn't feeling well, but she should at least write a reply if she has a cold. The recent weather with wildly fluctuating temperatures made it very possible for one to catch a cold, so of course they would be worried about her. "I guess I'll go visit her after classes today." I think I'll pass. I think Mao-chan would be happier if you went alone, Keiki." "What are you on about? She'd definitely be happier if you came with me." If it's worker mode Mao-chan, then maybe you're right." They were talking about the fact that Mao was a BL-loving fujoshi. If she saw Shoma and Keiki having a good time together, she would be back in high spirits in no time. "But the young maiden Mao-chan is a bit different." "What do you mean?" "I'm just saying that she wouldn't want me there." "I don't really get it, but if Shoma says so, then so be it." And thus, it was decided that Keiki would be the only one to pay Mao a visit. After classes ended, Keiki immediately made his way towards the flat where Mao lived. Though it wasn't exactly new or beautiful to look at, the 5-floor building still had its own rustic sort of charm. "I haven't been here since our date during summer vacation." Back then, their goal had been to collect data for her shoujo manga. Mao had been scouted by an editor for a monthly magazine who had asked her to write a one-shot. In order to gather the necessary information about what it felt like to have a boyfriend, she asked Keiki to become her fake boyfriend for the day. At the end of that date, he accompanied her home to this very flat in front of him. As for the shoujo manga, Mao had been busy throughout the whole summer vacation. That reminds me, the release of the magazine she's featured in should be right around the corner. Or is it already in stores? Keiki had heard something about that on the day of the sports festival, but that was the only time. Keiki decided to ask her about it later. Anyway, there's no use standing here. He already bought several snacks and drinks for Mao from the convenience store close by. All that was left was going into the attack. Stepping inside the building, Keiki immediately made his way to the elevator. He had gotten the room number from Mizuha, who had stayed over at Mao's home a few times already. He pressed the button for the 4th floor without hesitation. At the end of the ride, Keiki stepped onto the hallway. His goal room was number 406. This should be it. He rang the bell and waited for a few seconds, and a familiar voice answered from the speaker. "Hello? Who is this?" "It's me. I'm Mao-san's friend, Kiryu." "Kiryu? Why are you here?" He could clearly hear his classmate panicking through the speaker. This might be the first time she had panicked this much just from stating his name. "Mao isn't here right now. Please go away." "Hey, you're totally Mao. I know your voice." "Just go home. I don't want to see your face right now." "Why does it feel like I've been rejected without even confessing to you?" The boy and girl started fighting over the speaker. Though Keiki didn't know the reason, Mao didn't seem like she would open the door anytime soon. "If you're playing like that, then I have my own ideas." Though Keiki didn't want to use it, he had no other option now. Once he had finished his preparations, the operation started immediately. Shoma, what are you doing?" Akiyama's with you?" Of course he wasn't. However, Keiki was acting as if he was. "Hey, what are you— Stop! Don't take off my pants! What are you thinking? Hey, don't just gulp on it in broad daylight." What are you doing? What are you guys doing? Save me, Nanjo. Shoma's going to take me to heaven at this rate. I can't miss out on something like this. In that moment, a rather manly voice rang out from the speaker, and it was turned off. Shortly after, running sounds could be heard from inside, only for the door to suddenly be thrown wide open. Kiryu! Akiyama, what are you doing in front of my home? The person who came out was Mao, wearing casual clothes, her reddish-brown hair spilling down her back and holding a digital camera in her hands. Akiyama isn't here? Kiryu, you liar! Of course I was lying. If that really happened, it would have been the end of the world. But I'm glad to see that you're in good spirits. Kiryu. Though he had felt like he had to sacrifice something important to him, he could see that his friend wasn't seriously ill, so Keiki decided that it had been worth it in the end. Well, now that you're here, there's no reason to send you home. It's my fault for not answering your emails, too. Just come in for now. Sorry for intruding. It was his first time entering Mao's apartment. After moving deeper into the living room, she directed him to sit down on the sofa there. When he gave Mao the emergency rations he had brought with him, she returned a calm "thank you" and put them in the fridge. Shortly afterwards, she brought some cups with her filled with cool tea. I need about 10 minutes to prepare, so wait here for now. Prepare for what? Necessary things for a girl. Around 10 minutes after she left the living room, Mao returned. Her hair was in her usual side tail, and she had changed into clothes that looked pretty cute. I can't let a boy see my appearance when I let my guard down. Yeah. Because she had suddenly said something so maidenlike, Keiki's heart started beating faster. At the same time, he felt bad that he hadn't shown any delicacy, even though he was visiting a girl's home. But he ignored that and brought up the main reason for his visit. So, Nanjo, you've been absent from school for 4 days now, right? From the looks of it, she wasn't sick in the slightest. However, Keiki could still see traces of where she must have been crying before. Though it looked like she had tried to hide them with makeup, those red circles made Keiki's chest hurt even more. It's fine, I'm not sick or anything. I've just been feeling a bit lackluster about life and everything for the past few days. No, I totally call that being sick. An illness of the heart. What in the world happened? Well, I guess that Kiryu's not exactly an outsider in all of this. I'll tell you in my room, okay? Mao got up and Keiki followed her out of the living room. After going down the hallway, they entered the room with the plate Mao. Unlike a boy's room, her room was filled with a sweet aroma. Whether it was the bed or desk, everything was neatly put in its place. Even the toy penguin he had gotten for her during their date was present. Her room looked like a normal girl's. The only difference were the manga materials lying on top of her desk. Just have a seat over there. Okay. A bit nervous, Keiki sat down on a cushion with stiff movements. Mao picked up something from the desk and put it down on the table in front of Keiki. It was an issue of the Monthly Elizabeth, which he had heard about before. Specifically, he knew that it was a monthly magazine for shoujo manga. This is the magazine that published my manga. Ah, you should have just told me that I could buy it and would have it. I could tell you that. Nanjo? Mao spoke in a subdued voice. Seeing that he was unable to follow the situation, Mao showed Keiki her smartphone. You'll understand it once you see this. What's this, reviews? What was shown on the screen looked to be a review site, and he saw many comments that read as follows. Did you see the manga from Minami Mao-sensei? Yeah, totally did. Just shut up and say that you love me, was it? Exactly that one. It was so boring, right? Right, lol. The drawings were pretty good, but the content was so meh. IDK had to describe it. It was normal? Yeah, no climax, no punchline, no nothing really. The title was also all over the place. Do you want him to shut up or not? Make up your mind, lol. Minami-sensei should really stick with BL. Agreed, lol. This is... A tsunami of critique ensued. He only skimmed through them, but they seemed to be completely endless. As you can see, those are the reviews of my shoujo manga. Saturday was the release, see? I immediately went for an ego search online. Ego search? So you looked up the reviews and impressions about yourself? Yeah, but when it comes to authors, we look up our works rather than ourselves. And then you saw the storm of critique. As far as Keiki could tell, Mao's manga had been pretty harshly critiqued online. The story was average at best, the hero was way too normal, and other such critiques, all of which would certainly cut deep into a creator's heart. I was treated like a goddess in the doujin world, but now look where I've ended up. But this was your first shoujo manga, right? It's a genre you're not used to, so I think it's fine for you to not pay too much attention to it, you know? It has nothing to do with it being my first. This is the world of professionals. Skill and talent are everything. There are authors who have won the first place of a contest with their very first work, after all. Still, it's true that whatever field you choose for an example, inhuman people like that always exist. Keiki wanted to tell her that only looking upwards wouldn't do her any good, but she probably wouldn't be satisfied with just that. If you're troubled by it, then you could have just not looked up the reviews. I can't help it, can I? Of course the creator would be interested in the reception of something he worked really hard on. I know what you mean, but... And now that it's released, running away from the ratings won't do me any good. I see. Nanjo is a pro after all. Though the impressions for the project were negative, she was still a professional in this market. But since it's a manga that came into life thanks to your help, Kiryu, I really wanted to make this a success. Nanjo. Well, it's not all bad. I understand now that I still lack experience, so I just have to work on my mistakes and not make the same ones in my next work. Mao said that with a smile and a light tone of voice. I'll work hard on the next one, and when the time comes, you better buy it, Kiryu. I'll definitely draw an interesting manga, and then... Nanjo? The girl in front of him started crying. Though she had tried to hide it, she had probably been crying this whole time inside of her heart. Why am I... She quickly tried to wipe away her tears, but they wouldn't stop. Big round tears were falling to the ground. No, you're wrong. I'm not... It's okay, Nanjo. Not able to just watch her try to hold back her tears, Keiki softly brought his hand down at her head and gently embraced her. It's fine already. You don't have to hold back. Kiryu... Her head pushed into Keiki's chest. Mao started crying like a little child. There was no way her shock would just disappear after 4 days like that. Judging from her red eyes, she probably had been crying the whole time. Even so, she had tried to put on a strong face, holding back in front of Keiki, but all he could do was pat her on the head while she let everything out. After around 10 minutes had passed, Mao separated from Keiki in a flustered manner. I'm sorry for crying like that. It's fine. No, your uniform is all wet now. I don't mind. That just shows me how serious you are about all of this. Kiryu, you really are kind, Mao said, laughing. This time, it was a real, genuine smile. Even though I was so confident. But it's not like your editor reprimanded you about it or anything, right? No, he actually said that he believed in the success of my next manga. Well, see? But to make a new manga with these feelings is... Well, I can see how you'd lose your motivation to draw after those critiques. Even a non-mangaka like Keiki can imagine the shock she had received. So what are you going to do from here on out, Nanjo? I don't want to give up, not like this. I see. But I don't know what I should do now. I don't know how to make it any more interesting. For crying out loud, what should I do about this? I'm glad to see that you've gotten your energy back at least. Hitting her cushion like that was definitely better than crying. This is probably what they call a slump. Wait, isn't this a chance? Keiki's current goal was to turn the perverts from the calligraphy club into normal girls. If Keiki played it well, he could pull Mao away from her wicked BL love, make her focus on drawing more normal shoujo manga, and turn her from a fujoshi into a normal girl you could find anywhere. If he did that, he wouldn't have to worry about being used as a BL reference material again. Alright, in for a penny, out for a pound. I'll help you out, so let's create an interesting shoujo manga. Why is Kiryu the one who seems the most motivated? And thus, it was decided that Keiki would help Mao create a shoujo manga. Part 2. It was the following day, Friday, after classes had ended. A group of 4 boys and girls could be seen in the classroom of Class 2B. Sitting around a joined set of 4 tables, Mao and Keiki were next to each other, facing the couple consisting of Shoma and Koharu. I see, so you want to create an interesting shoujo manga. Yeah, I definitely don't want to be criticized like that anymore. That's why I want to ask for help from the both of you as well. For shoujo manga, you can't be missing proper love material. Since the 2 of you are an official couple now, we hope that we could hear your experiences and advice on that topic. Official couple, you say? That's a bit embarrassing, said the upperclassman, putting her hands on her cheeks, fidgeting in a flustered manner. In order to create an interesting shoujo manga, Keiki had advised Mao to ask more informed people for data. When it came to BL manga, Mao was without a doubt an expert, but her experience was severely lacking when it came to shoujo manga. In order to make up for that lack of experience, they planned to ask other people who had more experience where it came to love and relationships. Otori-senpai, I'm sorry about this, making you put up with this just for my own sake. Don't worry about it. I do love shoujo manga myself, so I'd be glad to help out a mangaka. Her great shoujo manga collection came as a saving grace when Keiki had to prepare for his amusement park date back then with Sayuki, so he thought that Koharu might be a reliable person to ask. Actually, I brought the issue of Monthly's Elizabeth where your manga was featured and took the liberty to read through it. And how was it? Let's see. Measuring from its sweetness, it's still lacking. I thought so. But the psychological depiction was very well fleshed out, and both the drawings and the composition weren't bad either. The major weak point is that the story is very commonplace and not that all unique. So making it a pure love story really was bad. I won't say that it's necessarily bad or anything, but the ups and downs were missing and I could see myself getting bored fairly easily. While Koharu was giving professional advice, Shoma was lost in thought. What exactly is lacking that would make Mao-chan's manga more interesting? Good question. Whether it be shonen or shoujo manga, in order to make the story interesting, you need a spice called impact or provocation. Just by being aware of this, I think you can make it far better than it is now. It's true that my manga was missing a bit of impact, nodded Mao, enthusiastically taking notes in her notebook. It looked like the well-informed Koharu's advice would be useful for the future. Otori-senpai, can I call you Master? Master? My master for shoujo manga. I'd be happy if I could ask you for some advice again. Yes, I'd be happy to help again. And with that, the master-pupil relationship was established. They seem to be having fun, all right. Yeah, right? When the girls' relationship grew stronger, Keiki returned to the topic at hand. All righto, then time to start collecting the data. After their meeting ended, Keiki and Mao headed towards the clubroom building. To think that Master was Akiyama's stalker at one point. I was also really surprised about that. Anybody would be surprised after seeing the huge collection of pictures that only showed Shoma's face. Did their story help you a bit? I don't know. I don't think I can really implement all of that stalking stuff. Well, hearing about Koharu's long-term unrequited love really hit deep, though. It made my heart skip a beat, too. Well, from how I see it, Koharu-senpai is really cute after all. Are you a lolicon, too? You're wrong, okay? I know. After teasing Keiki a bit, Mao's expression turned serious again as she continued. You know, after listening to Master's story, I thought about this. Maybe I was just drawing what I wanted to, without caring about what the readers would enjoy. It's probably because I lack experience. Then you just have to get some from here on out. Yeah, I'll do my best. The next up were the calligraphy club members. Like this, the data gathering session with Minami Maho-sensei and her assistant started. The first person they asked for advice was the person writing characters in the clubroom, Tokihara Sayuki. A male character that can make your heart beat faster in a shoujo manga? Well, that'd have to be a super fiendish hardcore sadist, of course. He would kick the girl without hesitation, or sexually harass the heroine. A prince like that would be the best. That character's a bit too abnormal, so that one's rejected. That would better fit in a seinen magazine. Next was the library to ask Koga Yuika for her opinion about the best approach. Good situations in a shoujo manga that make you excited? That's easy. It has to be when a normally strong, confident man crawls down on the floor and is kicked by a girl younger than him. Yuika-chan, what manga do you normally read? Yuika's got a cute face, but she has quite the personality inside, I see. And lastly, they talked to Kiryu Mizuha, but since she had already gone home, they had to ask her over the phone. If you're doing a manga, then it definitely has to be about a forbidden love between siblings. If the older brother is an oogling pervert, that'd be the best. I want him to look at me with indecent eyes as if he's licking my naked body all over. She mixed her own wishes in there halfway through. Nissan is worried about Mizuha here. This is completely different from the Mizuha I know. With that, the interviews with the different club members ended. When they returned to the classroom, Mao sat on a chair next to the desk. She seemed exhausted. To be honest, it feels like we're totally asking the wrong people here. That's true, yeah, but that was just the starting round. The real deal's gonna be from here on out. We're gonna continue? It's someone not from the club, but it's fine. I already have an appointment. And who is this with? In response to that question, Keiki gave an ominous grin. The location for their meeting was the same cat cafe they had visited a few days prior during the incident when they suspected Shoma of cheating. When they entered, the short-haired acai waved as she called out to them. Keiki-kun, over here. I'm sorry, we were late even though I was the one to call you here. Don't worry about it, we just came here a bit early. Next to Acai, the semi-long-haired Yuhi flashed them a kind smile. While Keiki started chatting with the two female university students, Mao gently pulled in his uniform. Kiryu, who are these two? They're Shoma's older sisters. Really? Yeah, I'm the older sister, Akiyama Acai. And I'm Yuhi. Me and Acai are twin sisters, you see. Nice to meet you. I'm Kiryu's classmate, Nanjo Mao. Mao-chan, huh? Anyway, go ahead and take a seat. Mao-chan, what do you want to order? This place's cafe latte is really delicious, you know. If you like sweets, I'd recommend the cheesecake. Is that so? Although Mao was now seated, she still couldn't calm down when faced by the rather assertive twins. Keiki guessed that she probably wasn't used to this much social interaction. While Mao was busy acting like a shy cat, Yuhi asked her a rather blunt question. Mao-chan, are you Keiki's girlfriend? No, it's not like that. Ah, is that so? I think you two were a good match. A good match? Keiki thought it was refreshing to see Mao being teased like that. After the beverages they had ordered arrived, they finally started discussing the main topic. So Keiki said something about collecting data from us? Yeah, Nanjo is working on a shoujo manga. We wanted to hear your love stories in order to help make it even more interesting. Ah, I see. Sure, why not? It sounds interesting enough. Yeah, it sounds fun. So their standard for judgment was if something was interesting or not. But I'm not sure if I can really live up to your expectations. I don't have much experience in that regard. Is that so? That's kind of unexpected. You know how it's always been Shokun for me. Yeah. Keiki was once more reminded of the fact that these sisters were serious brocons. When she heard Asahi's statement, Mao whispered to Keiki in a quiet voice, Is it possible that Asahi-san is a bro-san too? I'm an Oni-chan who dearly loves her younger brother. Me too. In response to Mao's unease, the two twins gave idol-like peace signs. As a result, the high schooler looked rather troubled. Asahi put one finger on her lips. Well, if you really wanted to hear something, then this Oni-chan here has sniffed her younger brother's underwear one time. She's also kissed him in his sleep, like that sort of thing. Those are things that I would rather not use as a reference. It feels like she wants to tell us about them or something. Both Keiki and Mao looked at Asahi in awe. They also felt deep sadness for Shoma, who had to put up with such a brocon older sister. I guess it's Yuhi-chan's turn then. I don't mean to brag, but I have a lot of experience when it comes to that sort of thing. Just ask me anything. So she says, Mao, ask away. Yeah. Prompted by Keiki, Mao brought out her notebook and a pencil. Then can I hear about your first love? Oh, I expected as much. But my first love was with Sho-chan, so how about the person that came after that? Yeah, that's fine. Mao's face twitched, but Yuhi continued without paying any attention. My first love was back in grade school. With the homeroom teacher I had, inside the science preparation room after class. Stop. What are you on about? What do you mean? I'm talking about my first time. Your first time? Didn't you just say you were in grade school? Because her confession was so over the top, even Mao ended up yelling at her. Keiki spit out the coffee that was in his mouth. In essence, Yuhi's description of her first time was too lively, so it couldn't be used as any sort of reference. My, what a strong impact I had even on a high school student. Honestly, it even got my heart racing. Unlike the little sister, the pure Asahi Oni-chan's face was bright red, and she was fidgeting. If the story about my first experience is no good, then I don't know what else to say. Then how about we tell her about that Valentine's Day back then with Shokun? Valentine's Day? As soon as that word came up, Keiki had a bad premonition, especially because he had heard about the Akiyama family's Valentine's incident from Shoma himself already. When Shokun was in middle school, me and Yuhi-chan wanted to give him some chocolate, right? Doing it normally wouldn't have been any fun, so we put chocolate all over our naked bodies and lay in wait for Shokun to take a bath. Then we attacked. Kiryu, what's wrong with these people? I'm sorry. Mao had hoped to hear something normal, like girls talk about past love, but certainly not anything like this. Shokun's face was so red back then, and he looked so cute when he got angry at us. Asahi-chan, you're drooling. While Yuhi wiped away the drool on her sister's face, the two high school students could only sigh in resignation. After the interview with the twins ended, they listened to them talk about whatever came to mind, mostly their little brother. And after 2 long hours, they were finally freed. It had already gotten dark outside, and the tired Keiki and Mao were resting in a nearby park, sitting on a bench next to each other. Nanjo, did you learn anything from that? Is that a serious question? Yeah, I thought not. Whether it be the club members or the twins, they couldn't help but think that they had asked the wrong people. I wonder if Yuhi-san's first time was really in grade school. Who knows? Keiki certainly wished that it was nothing more than a joke, but her description of it was rather specific, so he sadly couldn't deny it outright. Still, this isn't going how I'd hoped. Yeah, you're right. By the way, Nanjo. Shoma finally got together with Koharu. Are you going to try to get between them? What? You said that you joined the calligraphy club in order to make sure that I wouldn't get touchy with any girls, right? That if I went out with someone, the time I could spend with Shoma would decrease, and you would lose your BL source for inspiration. I did say something like that. Thinking back to it, this was the main reason why Mao had joined the calligraphy club, in order to make sure that her BL model Keiki wouldn't go out with anyone, and to obstruct anyone from making their move on him. Isn't it problematic for you now that Shoma and Koharu-senpai are going out? No, not really, I guess. Really? Why? I wonder, do you have any idea? Mao looked at Keiki as if she was testing him. No, I don't have a clue. That's just like Kiryu. What do you mean? I'll keep it a secret for now. I'll tell you the answer if I ever feel like it. What's up with that? Once again, Keiki realized that he had no idea how girls thought. But there's got to be another reason why she's keeping it a secret, right? He was really intrigued, but there was no helping it if she refused to talk to him. Anyway, the shoujo manga has priority right now, though it doesn't feel like we've made much progress today. We did, though. I even got myself a master. Yeah, you guys even exchanged email addresses. Koharu's talent was the ability to become friends with almost anyone. She also seemed to be email buddies with Sayuki, and because Mizuha had helped her out at a stall at the summer festival, they also contacted each other from time to time. An interesting manga, huh? Master said that I would have to put something impactful. How about using the club members as inspiration? A hardcore sadist, a fiendish boy, or a forbidden love? Any of those could make an impact, right? It's not a bad idea, but neither the sadistic boy nor the forbidden relationship are really anything new. They feel pretty average. Whether it be between siblings or between teacher and student, stories with forbidden relationships occurred more often than one would think. It's not like normal is bad, but I'd like something that really surprises the reader, or something that just flies in the face of common sense. An amateur like Keiki certainly couldn't come up with anything like that. The only thing that came to his mind was how his daily life had been thrown into chaos these past few months. Speaking of which, the members of the calligraphy club all do lack common sense. Huh? The moment Keiki's comment reached Mao's ears, she let out a very un-Mao-like shriek. She immediately grabbed Keiki by the shoulders. Kiryu, what did you just say? Huh? I'm saying that the members of the calligraphy club really lack common sense. Something like that. That's it! What's it? Without responding to the confused Keiki, Mao hurriedly picked up her bag and grabbed Keiki's hand. Please come with me. Huh? Where? A hotel. Huh? Mao invited him out to a grown-up night date. In the end, Keiki was really brought to a hotel room by his female classmate. The room wasn't necessarily large, but it had a refrigerator, an assortment of household materials, and, of course, only one bed. For now, take a seat. Yeah. Mao told him to sit, but her bag was already on the room's single chair, so Keiki reluctantly sat down on the bed. So, Nanjo, what are we going to do now? What do you mean? There's only one thing that we would do after coming here, right? Loosening the ribbon of her uniform, Mao walked up to the bed. Crawling forward with both of her hands on the white sheet, she slowly approached Keiki, making him able to catch glimpses of her underwear. Hey, Kiryu? Yeah? I won't let you sleep today, all right? Okay. Since we don't have any school tomorrow, we can do it all night long. All night? Now then, how about you let it all out? Let what out exactly? Your experience you've had so far. What else? My experiences? Keiki calmed down immediately. Mao sat down on top of the bed next to him. Wait, so why do you want to know about my experiences? To collect data, of course. I'm asking you to tell me about every incident that has happened between you and the other club members so far. Oh? This was something we totally overlooked, right? I think that Kiryu can be my #1 source for data. No, excuse me? A normal boy in the middle of a club full of perverts. Isn't that so far removed from common sense that it might actually work? Nanjo, you... Really, how blind have I been up until now? To think that the greatest source of material had been right next to me all along. So you even plan to use me as your shoujo manga model? Of course. She said that with a bright smile. Keiki should have realized that something was off when they had checked into a normal business hotel. Now, Kiryu, whether it be the club prez, Yuika, or Mizuha, I want to hear everything that's happened between you and them. I don't wanna... So basically, something embarrassing has happened to you with all of them? Why am I such an idiot? This was really bad for Keiki. He felt like it would only get worse the more he talked. Don't worry, I won't tell a soul about this. But you're gonna put it in your manga though, right? I won't make it a 1-to-1 correlation, okay? I just want to know what Kiryu has felt like, since he's close to every single one of them. I really feel like this is necessary for me to grow. Nanjo, will you help me? Her eyes were serious. No, Nanjo Mao was always serious. In contrast to the first impression she gave, she was earnest and she wouldn't hurt someone else just for her own benefit. She was a girl who would use these things through to the end, no matter the result. Fine. I guess I was the one who offered to help. Yay! When he saw Mao acting like that, Keiki's cheeks loosened. But why at a hotel? My home would have been a fine place to talk, right? Mizuha is at your place, and Mama will come home sooner or later at mine, so we can't really spend the night at either of our places. Why is it a given that it'll take us all night? Because telling me about the escapades of every club member is going to take a pretty long while, right? That's true, but how about splitting it up into sessions or something? That's no good. Why? When he asked her that, Mao showed him a radiant smile. Because right now is perfectly fine. I feel the most motivated right now. Though he didn't want to admit it, her smile was making his heart race. Her straightforward mannerisms, not fake in the slightest, were the most charming part of her. All right, I'll stay with you today. Unable to decline while the sparkling eyes were looking at him, Keiki gave a slight nod, but there were some preparations they had to make first, namely, to inform their families that they would be out for the night. They both decided to write an email saying, "I'm staying over at a friend's house." Now then, it all started with the cleaning operation that day. I stayed behind to clean up the rest. When I came back to the empty classroom, he started talking about himself and the other club members. There were stories that were so absurd that they should never leave the room. I found a suspicious-looking letter with no name, addressed at me with a pair of pure white panties on top. And like that, Keiki continued to describe what had happened up to that point. After he had found the love letter back in May, he had worked his hardest to figure out the identity of Cinderella. He had figured out the club members' secret personalities in the process, and all sorts of trouble had followed as a result. Such as how Sayuki didn't wear panties during their amusement park date. Such as how Yuika caught Keiki looking through her panties and forced him to become her slave for a week. And when Keiki had revealed Mizuha's identity when everyone went to the pool together, though he didn't mention the fact that Mizuha stole his first kiss. By the time Keiki finished telling Mao everything, it was close to 4 a.m. So Mizuha was Cinderella all that time, huh? Yeah, and she turned out to be quite the pervert as well. I didn't know about any of that. It'd be pretty bad if you did. Nanjo was a Cinderella candidate too, after all. That's true, I guess. And what kind of motive is that? Working that hard just because you desperately want a girlfriend? I'm sorry for being honest with my desires. You really are a bad guy. All that stuff happened in the process, right? Like fondling the club prez's breasts and seeing Yuika naked. Every single accident had its own set of circumstances, okay? To think that you were raising flags with all those impure girls all along. I wasn't raising any flags, okay? Rather, Keiki wished that all of those flags would just disappear, and soon. But thank you, that turned into some great reference material. I'm glad I was able to help. With that, the data collecting was over and a soft yawn escaped Keiki's mouth. Kiryu, you can go ahead and sleep. I'll wake you up at noon. What about you? I'll work on my storyboard. I'm really hyped right now. My inspiration is at its peak. I see. Then I'll take you up on that offer. Yeah, don't worry. I won't inspect your banana while you're asleep. The fact that you brought it up makes me worried, though. But no matter how worried he was, Keiki's consciousness was slowly starting to drift off into the land of dreams, and his eyes were heavy as she collapsed backwards onto the bed. I'll turn the lights off, okay? Yeah, thank you. The lights faded, and the only light at the desk where Mao was working was left. He gazed at her back as she started to work. Do your best. He muttered those soft words, and he closed his eyes to the sound of pencil moving across the paper. Part 3. After Keiki fell asleep, Mao continued to work on her storyboard. Countless ideas were flooding through her mind, and her pencil wouldn't stop. She had fun. So much fun that she forgot about the time. The white pages of her sketchbook started to fill in an alarming speed, and just around the time when the sun was starting to rise. It's done. On top of the desk where she was sitting was a finished shoujo manga storyboard. The protagonist was a normal female high school student who simply wished to experience normal love. Around her, various charming boys appeared, and just when she began to have hopes for them, it turned out all of the boys were perverts. It was a rom-com with the protagonist trying to fight off the approaches of various men. Yeah, this is definitely interesting. The title of her work was, Would You Be Able to Fall in Love with a Pervert If He Was an Ikemen? It was a mess, yes, but it perfectly described what the story was about. While she read through it once more, a smile appeared on Mao's face. The manga she had created was something that came into existence because she had wanted it to. In the BL doujin industry, that had always worked for her. That was why she had thought that she would be able to achieve the same results by repeating that process, only switching the genre to shoujo. Even though that's too good to be true. And the person who had made her realize how different shoujo manga is from BL manga was, Hey, Kiryu, I'm done. Hurry up and wake up so you can praise me. Mao walked over to the bed and gently shook his shoulders, but he showed no signs of waking up. This guy, he's not waking up at all. Though it was probably because she had forced him to pull an all-nighter and he wasn't used to it. Still, Mao hoped that he would get up soon and take a look at her storyboard. Making such a cute sleeping face. Kiryu, you're not as plain-looking as you think you are. For some reason, this boy's sense of self-worth was way too low. Though he certainly couldn't measure up to their ikemen friend, his facial features weren't as bad as he always claimed. Even though a girl loves you this much, you don't realize it at all. But Mao would hate it even more if Keiki could actually understand a girl's heart. Well, after hesitating for a bit, Mao sat down on the edge of the bed. Staying like this for a bit longer shouldn't be a problem. This boy had seen various girls in their underwear or even in their birthday suit, so Mao thought it was fine for her to enjoy his sleeping face a bit longer. When Keiki opened his eyes, he was greeted by Mao's face, which was almost close enough for their foreheads to touch each other. Good morning, Kiryu. Morning. Wait, what? Keiki jumped up, startled. Kiryu, you were way too surprised. While she let out a heartfelt laugh, Mao pulled her body away from him and sat down. She was wrapped in a bathrobe and her brownish red hair was let down. The sight of her completely blew away any sleepiness he had left in Keiki. Why was I sleeping next to Nanjo? Because you were occupying the bed the entire time. I was pretty sleepy too, you know. Sorry about that. The circumstances finally came back to Keiki, about how they had stayed in the same room for the night. After finally calming himself down, Keiki sat down in front of Mao. Apparently, she had taken a shower earlier because a sweet, lingering smell of shampoo tickled his nose. You slept like a rock. It's already past noon. Huh? Did I really sleep that long? Yeah, thanks to that, I got a good look at your sleeping face. Only my face, right? My banana is still safe, right? I didn't do anything, okay? I don't have time for that anyway, said Mao. She handed Keiki her sketchbook. I'm done. When she said those words, Keiki immediately understood that her storyboard was finished. Are you going to read it? Can I? Of course, you're my benefactor after all. Then I'll take you up on that. Keiki accepted the sketchbook from her and slowly opened it. The first thing he felt that this wasn't just any other normal storyboard. The characters were already illustrated down to the smallest detail, and you could clearly see their impressions and gestures. It almost felt like a completed manuscript. This is way more than just a normal storyboard, isn't it? Well, I got a bit too into it. You're way too fast. She had finished around 50 pages just in time between morning and noon. Even Keiki understood that that was an amazing feat. Though I'm pretty sure I won't be able to repeat this again. Well, I'll just read through it now. After saying that, Keiki began reading the storyboard. This was the result of the girl's hard work, the story she had arrived at after worrying for so long. After finishing the last page, Keiki sighed. It was crazy interesting. Right? The characters each have their own distinctive touch. It's really original, and there's enough spice in it to keep me going, and it's great that there are so many individual boys that make an appearance. With its absurd premise that every boy was a pervert, it was a good balance between actual love elements and perverted moments. Keiki doubted that anyone would criticize this as harshly as her previous work. But the characters here, they're modeled after all the calligraphy club members, right? Was it that easy to tell? Of course. The black-haired hardcore masochistic upperclassman Yukio is pretty much Sayuki-senpai. The blonde-haired hardcore sadist handsome guy Ritsuka is just a male Yuika. Well, I guess it's that easy. And also this heroine, Keiko? That's totally me. She wants to experience normal love and she's surrounded by perverted club members. In the end, Keiki was the protagonist of the story. As an aside, there was also the younger brother, Mizuki, an exhibitionist. Not to mention that even Mao used herself as a model for the Yuri Dojinshi drawing brown reddish-haired classroom named Masumi. Well, I didn't expect to be turned into a shoujo manga heroine anytime soon. Do you have any complaints? I did my best to make you really cute, okay? I've got a lot of complaints, but the story is honestly interesting. You're going to show this to your editor, right? Yeah, and then I'll wait for the results. Though I think that I'll have to change a lot of things before I get an okay. So even something as interesting as this has its weak points, huh? Of course. The last time I got too arrogant, I received a wave of criticism. You really cried a lot back then, Nanjo. Do you have any delicacy at all? Though she puffed her cheeks out for a second, she became flustered soon after. But thank you for putting up with me. I didn't do anything major, though. That's not true at all. It's all thanks to you that I managed to finish the storyboard. This might be the first time I've had this much fun drawing shoujo manga. Mao tightly hugged her sketchbook and gave Keiki a bright smile. There were no traces of depression left on her face. Instead, this was the face of a hard-working creator. I'm gonna work even harder from now on, both in shoujo manga and in my doujins. Yeah, I'll be cheering for you. Wait, what? A certain ominous feeling crawled up his back as he looked at her. Right now, he had heard a term that shouldn't have been there. Nanjo-san? Did you just say the word doujins? You're not giving up on those to focus on your shoujo mangas? Of course not. I'm still a BL creator. Now that the storyboard for this shoujo manga is finished, I can enjoy my time with my new BL work. It seems like Mao still didn't plan on stepping away from the BL world. Keiki had hoped that she would be so engrossed in her shoujo manga work that she would forget about it, but those expectations were betrayed immediately. While Keiki was the one who felt like crying now, the bathrobe-wearing girl gleefully opened her sketchbook and started drawing anew. Well, this should be fine for today. Seeing her like that, Keiki didn't feel like spoiling her mood with useless complaints. Though his mission had ended in failure, he didn't necessarily feel bad about it. Now that I've gotten to see Kiryu's sleeping face, I can put it into my new scenario where Keiki is assaulted mid-sleep by Shoto. Hey, there's something you just said in there that I completely can't ignore. I retract my former statement. He swore to himself that he would never rest until he cured this Fujoshi in front of him. Epilogue. There were only a few days left until the end of September. It was a calm weekday after classes had ended. While Keiki was on his way to the clubroom building, he ran across a certain twin-tailed girl in the hallway. Ah, if it isn't Kiryu-senpai. My, what a coincidence seeing you here, Nagase-san. Ugh, don't imitate me, it's unpleasant. Although she was calling him unpleasant, her manner of speaking to him wasn't as hostile as before. Indeed, Keiki could have sworn that she actually looked like she was enjoying herself as a smile flashed across her face. Senpai is on his way to his club, I assume? That's right, yeah. Then is it fine if I were to join you? I have to do an inventory check since the culture festival is just around the corner. Yeah, sure, I don't mind. When Keiki started walking again, Irie lined up next to him. The rather awkward atmosphere from before was gone, and now they seemed to be at a distance that they could be called friends. That reminds me, isn't club-related stuff usually Fujimoto-san's job? Senpai is busy doing something else, so I'm taking over for her duties today. Oh, I see. Don't get the wrong idea, okay? It's not like I offered to help her out because I wanted to meet up with Kiryu-senpai or anything. How would I even make a misunderstanding like that? His kohai was as self-conscious as ever. It seems like the student council is as busy as ever. Yes, if only a certain person would be kind enough to help us. Yeah, I'm sure that things would be easier if you got more people to help. It'd be totally fine if Kiryu-senpai were to join, you know? Yeah? When Keiki subconsciously peeked into Irie's face, she got flustered and turned away. What is it? I just thought that it was pretty unexpected for Nagase-san to say something like that. There's no other reason behind it. I just thought that Kiryu-senpai would do a good job since you're an earnest and hardworking person. I'm happy to hear that, but I don't really plan on joining the student council anytime soon. Is that so? If you ever change your mind, feel free to pay me a visit anytime. Anytime, huh? Keiki didn't expect to be invited to the student council by the person who was afraid of men. It really felt like Irie had changed her attitude recently. After that incident, he had helped out with the student council work from time to time, and her attitude towards Keiki had gotten softer in the process. She was like piping hot curry that had cooled down enough to eat. Not to mention that she only showed the kindness towards Keiki while still keeping her distance from the other boys around her. Wait, maybe she's actually interested in me? She had seen another side of Keiki after the sports festival and had opened her heart during the work in the student council, and now maybe a feeling of love was blooming inside her chest. At the very least, it would be a very rom-com-like development. It would explain why she had punished him by forcing him to help the student council after all he did was pat her head. She hated boys, but other than that, she was just a normal girl you could find anywhere. She was honest, had a strong sense of responsibility, and was always ready to help people in distress. If you thought her poisonous tongue was a tsundere sort of attitude, it might make her even look cuter. If things go well, maybe I'll get on the Irie route here. No, first I have to get rid of the perverts in the club. Kiryu-senpai? What is it? No, we've arrived at the club? Ah, you were spacing out back there. Did something happen? Nothing at all. It's nothing. Is that so? Yeah, let's just go in for now. Trying to cover up his embarrassing thoughts, Keiki hurriedly opened the door. Welcome to the calligraphy club. Excuse me? Keiki was greeted by 4 bunny girls. Sayuki, Yuika, and Mizuha, and even Mao were all wearing very appealing bunny girl costumes. Though it was the second time he had seen Yuika in a bunny girl outfit, he certainly would never grow tired of it. Mizuha's appearance was too cute for her own good, and the normally cool and collected Mao was nervously fidgeting while stealing glances at Keiki. As a side note, Sayuki's breasts barely fit into the costume, but Keiki didn't have time to admire them. Why has every club member turned into a bunny girl? Good question, Keiki-kun, said the club president. She took one step forward, her breath shaking all over the place. You want to know why all the club members are bunny girls right now, don't you? You can't help it, right? If you want me to tell you, you have to insult me in the harshest way possible. No more of that, just tell me the reason. This is for our operation to bring the end to the grave situation we're in right now. What's up with that? What grave situation? Recently, there's been a rumor going around school that the calligraphy harem king Keiki-kun has grown tired of us and has decided to play with the girls from the student council. Huh? It was true that recently Keiki had been busy helping Irie instead of tending the club. As a result, he often could be seen walking around school with either Irie or Ayano. That apparently had caused a false rumor that she was talking about start circulating. Well, the very fact that he was building a harem with the calligraphy club was a misunderstanding to begin with. Keiki-kun has taken quite an absence from the club recently. For us girls, that really hurts our pride. Now all of the other boys think that we're not good enough for even you know? Keiki-kun has taken quite an absence from the club recently. For us girls, it really hurts our pride. Now all of the other boys think that we're not good enough for you, you know? Thus, all the bunny girls gave Keiki dissatisfied glares. Keiki-senpai is so cruel, chasing after other girls and completely throwing Yuika aside like that. I believe that Nissan should only be spoiled by his little sister. Even I can't let Kiryu do as he pleases, you know? Yuika, Mizuha, and Mao all voiced their complaints. Keiki could feel cold sweat running down his cheek. That being said, in order to get this indecisive boy back as a club member, we female members were talking about beheading, seducing Keiki as bunny girls. Did you just say beheading? Ignoring Keiki's fearful cry, the girl's eyes glinted. Everyone, attack the target! At Sayuki's mark, the meat-eating rabbits all swarmed him. Hey, wait, whoa! He was pushed down to the ground and found himself surrounded by bunny girls on all four sides, held down, unable to run away. His right and left side were held down by Sayuki and Yuika respectively. His back was hitting Mao's chest, and he had Mizuha's face right in front of him. I'll give Nissan a lot of service today. Hey, Mizuha, haven't you gotten a bit bold recently? Mao-senpai, too. You're touching him with a lot of places. Koga-san is so small, but she's being so bold that I cannot lose here. The girls were gleefully discussing something among themselves, but Keiki didn't have time to pay attention to what they were saying. After all, he could feel their softness all over his body. You bunny girls? If you don't let go soon, my symbol as a man will go rampant down there. If that happens, I will take responsibility and tightly grip it. Then Yuika will take responsibility by kneading it. I'll take responsibility and lick Nissan's dick. Then I'll take responsibility and inspect every single part of it. No! He could not allow himself to show these girls his grown-up son. However, Keiki was so busy trying to free himself from the bunny girl attack that he had completely forgotten about one more girl who was present. Kiryu-senpai? Currently staring down at him, expressionless. Nagisa-san? Kiryu-senpai really is the harem king! The voice that she spit out was cold as ice. Her gaze felt like she was looking at the scum of the earth, just when he had finally managed to close the gap between him. This was just like the nightmare he had before. Just when he had managed to get friendly with her, these perverted girls completely got in the way and destroyed every hope of his wish being fulfilled. As a member of the student council, I cannot let this unhealthy club continue on its own accord. Thus declared the twin-tailed girl while glaring at the club members present. In order to protect the public morals of the school, I will make it my mission to disband the calligraphy club.